Yes, a very good morning to our today's speaker, CA Mangesh Kinare, past chairman of WRC and ex-Central Council member of ICI. Good morning to all the participants. On behalf of Andheri West Study Circle, I welcome you all for today's session, Code of Ethics, Recent Changes and Important Aspects. As said by Chief Justice of US Supreme Court, ethics is knowing the difference between what you are right to do and what is right, what you have the right to do and what is right to do. The law of our country has given our profession great power. Various stakeholders, not just of our country, but across the whole globe, rely on our certification, our opinions, our advisory, our reports, and they expect that we deliver it with the integrity, professional competency, and confidentiality. With the change in business scenario and rapid use of technology, the new opportunities have opened to us. And this opportunity brings with itself new responsibilities. Hence, the ICI has last year revised our code of ethics to match with the new responsibilities. And in our today's session, our speaker will take us through the recent changes in the code of ethics. I now request my fellow colleague CA Pranay Punamya to kindly introduce our today's speaker.
Hello. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Pranay. Yeah. Yes, Pranay.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Today we have amongst us CA Mangesh Kinare. Mangesh sir is a qualified CA, DISA and LLB. He is practicing for the last 28 years, majorly in the fields of indirect taxes and business consultancy. He was a member of Central Council 2016 to 19, during which he held several positions like Chairman, Committee for Management Accounting, Vice Chairman, Board of Studies, Vice Chairman, Taxation Audit Review Board, Vice Chairman, Committee for Economic and Commercial Laws and WTO, Vice Chairman, Committee of Cooperatives and NPO, Member, Examination Committee, Member, Indirect Tax Committee. He is also a past Chairman, Secretary, and a three-term member of WIRC. He was nominated by our institute as a member for committees like Education and Continuous Professional Development Committee of South Asian Federation of Accountants, State Level Coordination Committee headed by Chief Secretary, Government of Maharashtra, ICI delegation on behalf of IFAC, which carried out due diligence of CPA Institute in Papua New Guinea. He has been a nominated member of MOIL Limited, a mini Ratna PSU by Government of India. He has been a member of state government committees too, like Scrutiny of Self-Finance Private Universities in Maharashtra and Fees Regulation Authority set up by Government of Maharashtra to regulate fees of private professional colleges. He is an active speaker in various seminars, study circles, refresher courses of Mumbai University, and other social forums. He regularly writes for Marathi newspapers on indirect taxes. He is also a panelist on television channels as an expert on indirect taxes. He has also been an ex-professor of accountancy in a leading Mumbai Commerce College. With this, I welcome him on behalf of Andheri West Study Circle and request him to take over the session, please.
Shall I start, Gaurang?
Yes, sir, we can start.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Pranay, for a very kind introduction. Convener of Andheri West Study Circle, Gaurang Shah, Deputy Convener, respected seniors and friends. Before start of any webinar, generally I give one disclaimer that we are heavily relying, rather completely relying on technology. So in case any internet failure from my side, please bear with me. I have 3 internet connections, so I will switch off that and cancel that and then get back to you again. I would request Gaurang to remind me if there is any problem as far as my voice or video is concerned, so that I can immediately make the correction to that regard. Friends, Andheri West Study Circle, I have very fond memories, very close friends. To name few, I may not able to name everybody. I think my one of my regional council colleagues, Shruti Shah. Then we have Vidyadhar Khandekar, then Bala sir, then Ashok Mangdani, uh, Shantesh Varti was there. I don't know, I mean, Khandekar, Desai sir, Wire Desai was there. Uh, and happy to see a very young team taking it over. Of course, not to forget the person who has introduced me for the session today, and my very close friend Ajit Thakkar. Thank you all for, I mean, it's been a very good days with the Andheri West Study Circle, and I'm very happy that I'm speaking in the study circle, Andheri West Study Circle. I know you have been organizing very thoughtful sessions, and group is a very cohesive group. I mean, if I have to say. So Gaurang and your colleagues, definitely you will be taking this legacy ahead successfully. And I could see a very young team and very happy about it. So my topic is this important aspect and recent changes in code of ethics. Generally, friends, code of ethics means people in exam also, CA final, it was treated as a, some questions. Here also, I know that because ICI has made it mandatory CP, people may attend it, but otherwise, people have a feeling उसमें क्या पढ़ना है, उसमें क्या देखना है, and we know everything. I assure you, friends, that during this whatever 2 hour session we are going to have, uh, every one of you will feel at least one issue which was close to his heart will have been discussed. And I'm assuring you that this session will be going to be interesting, and I'm confident that you will have more such session, if not from me, from other faculties also. But there can be a lot of aspects in code of ethics which are very important, very relevant, and these days, as Gaurang said in this initial remarks, these days it has become much more relevant. Now, my structure of this session will be, I'll be introducing code of ethics first, then I'll be taking you through the changes which are there. At the same time, I'll be discussing certain important practical aspects also, which perhaps we may not be knowing in detail. And seeing this younger team, I feel that certain aspects have to be discussed more. And doing that, I will discuss certain cases also. Just I think one thing was read out in the code of, I mean, my introduction, I don't recollect, but I have been a member of a disciplinary bench for 2 years. And sitting on the disciplinary bench in the chair of a judge, so to say, we have seen many times that chartered accountants, not that they are unethical, not that they don't want to follow code of ethics, but most of the time, unknowingly, or what you can say is that without, because of casualness, they tend to overlook certain principles and land in a difficulty. My whole efforts will be to sensitize such people. I know that basically we are all ethical people. Those who don't act ethically, there is no point in discussing with them on this forum, and they will not join also on such forums. So you are all joined because you are interested in doing ethical practice, and you are doing ethical practice. But at times, certain unknowingly certain things may be violated, and we have to take care of that. So while discussing what is not to be done, we'll also discuss what can be done in a legal manner so that we are not falling in any kind of a difficulty. Now, this subject is very difficult to be covered in 2 hours, let me tell you. In WRC, last year, we had a 9 hours series kept for that entire code of ethics. Again, we may be planning again in WRC. So what my job is perhaps today is to sensitize you on certain issues, make you aware about the recent changes, and sensitize you about certain important aspects so that commonly observed mistakes which we observe will not be will not be done by the since the young members are there, that is more relevant. So with this brief, I can say, what you can say, introduction, let us start our session proper. Gaurang, my screen has changed.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, friends, why code of ethics? Why the ethics should be coded first of all? Now, in any what you can say accounting field, there have been standardizations. We are observing accounting standards or IFRS now, or auditing standards, or this kind of things. So these are being standardized. Similarly, the accounting bodies of entire world come together and have formed International Federation of Accountants. Our institute or our course is not a reputed course only because it's a tough examination. It is also reputed and respected course because internationally it is recognized, since we are a member of IFAC, International Federation of Accountants. As it was read out, I had a fortune when I was a council member to visit a country called Papua New Guinea. They had formed a CPA institute and they wanted an IFAC membership. And for that purpose, the due diligence, a hand holding had to be done with them by the larger institute. And IFAC had told Institute of Chartered Accountants of India to have a hand holding and due diligence of their institute. And that's why we had been there for in a delegation for 3-4 days to make them train and make them aware of all these things. And there also, the code of ethics, the code of ethics is a standard code of ethics, has been published by the IFAC under by way of their board, that is International Ethics Standard Board, ISBA. So that is a standard setting body as far as code of ethics for IFAC. They have prepared a model code of ethics for all the accounting bodies in the world. What accounting bodies have to do is, if they have to become a member of IFAC, or if they have to continue to be a member of IFAC, they have to adopt this code of ethics and adapt it as per the local conditions. Each country will have their own rules and regulations. So adopting the standard code of ethics and adapting to the local conditions, these are the things we have to do. Similarly, we had our code of ethics. Lastly, the edition was 2009 edition we were following on the basis of IFAC code of ethics of 2005. So you would recollect that how much old it was. So it was revised in 2019 on the basis of ISBA Code of Ethics of 2018. Now, this Code of Ethics has become applicable from 1st July 2020. Earlier, the Code of Ethics, our Code of Ethics had two parts, Part A and Part B. Now it has been divided in three parts, Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. Volume 1 speaks about or talks about the, what you can say is theoretical or the theory of the ethics. One can say the principles of ethics have been enumerated in Volume 1. So perhaps one may find it boring reading it, but one will find definitely the guidance for all in Volume 1. Whereas Volume 2 is an application material. Now, application material means in Indian context, what are the things which we have to refer that has been described, that has been kept in the Volume 2. To give you a very simple example, see, when there are hospitalities from the clients, or what kind of a relationship we can have a client, that has been enumerated in the Volume 1. Whereas Volume 2 has a lot of guidelines or a lot of kind of standards which prescribe that what kind of a documentation has to be done when we are dealing with the client. So this is Volume 1 and Volume 2, the understanding of the volumes. Perhaps for us, Volume 2, it's much more closer to our heart because it is against regarding the Indian context. But as I said, at certain times you will get definite guidance from Volume 1. Volume 3 is about the case laws or cases, glossary of cases on ethics or disciplinary matters which have been decided by the institute. Naturally, it's a dynamic volume because it will be changing, new cases will be coming up. So what is the code of ethics and why it is there? So basically, code of ethics expects that all the chartered accountants will be having imbibed in them the fundamental principles. Now, what are these fundamental principles which has been laid down? Integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. Friends, I know this is a webinar. I'm also have been attending certain webinars. Generally, we have a tendency to keep it on and go on doing certain things. I don't mind that. I don't want to disturb you in that. But there will be certain things on the screen which I'll be referring to. So if you keep your screen also open that time, so that will be helping you that in that regard. That's the only request. So, as I said, I will not read out everything. So, integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. As a chartered accountant, we are supposed to be honest. We should not have somebody else to influence us. We should have our own opinion. In fact, I always recollect in all my sessions the definition of audit which I had studied in my BCom level. It is by Spessier and Pegler. It says that such an examination of books, accounts, vouchers, and record as would enable an auditor to satisfy himself that the balance sheet is true and fair and profit and loss is true and fair and so on and so forth. Important is
So your screen has frozen. Sorry, remember there's some technical issue from the speaker's end. He'll be back in like 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes.
Meanwhile, we can discuss any extensions are planned in TDS income tax. Anybody aware?
In the GST, they have, as of now, they have given 15 days extension from the due date.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we have to pay the interest from 20th.
Yes.
But how they are expecting? See, this क्या बोलते हैं? That will come on a what you call details of ITC on 26th. And
yes.
they expect us to make the payment on 20th.
Yes. वो तो है सर अभी.
हाँ जी.
वो तो सर है अभी.
So better not to take any ITC and pay the TDS, pay the tax. What is your opinion?
वो तो है अभी बट सर गवर्नमेंट के रूल्स है.
नहीं, but suppose if we are half of the ITC, we are sure. So can we take the half of the ITC and file the return by 20th? Is it all right?
20th ka, any members, who's hardcore practicing into GST can give their inputs.
Anybody can unmute and because this is a month when all GST returns are getting due, TDS returns are getting due, and client is not ready to.
Members can unmute themselves. We can have a little bit of interaction. Meanwhile the speaker is ready. I guess सबने बंद करके रखा हुआ है.
We can discuss no issue.
Yeah, it's an issue.
In one case, I only filed one return, and I only taken I have filed one return, but I have already taken a credit of which the client has already shown his book of accounts. Since the 2A is not yet been prepared, but we already file a return considering that we'll get a credit.
Suppose if the party doesn't file, then it is I think completely.
Then the credit will be reversed. Then the credit need to reverse in next month, and you have to pay that along with interest. That is a normal rule.
Yeah. So
but you can take a credit in a case where you are completely sure that the client party will be filing the return.
Okay.
This is my view. Not what I'm following since few months.
But there's a reason, no, that only GSTR 1 once filed within 15 and by 11, and our 2A will get froze as on that
But
date.
this year, but for this month, that one date has been extended up to 28th of May.
26. Yes.
Yeah. So before
Okay.
that, if you're filing a return, it won't be reflecting in auto-populated 2A. So what we have done, we have taken the credit, assuming the party will be filing his 2A, and taken and go ahead with filing a return.
Okay. And if okay. Because this is the first month, party may shift to the quarterly return. They may not file this month because being optional and very risky actually.
But for most of our clients, we are filing IFF every month. We are starting with IFF also. So that's the practice we're already following, that all the clients will be filing IFF.
But sir, that is your practice. But your clients
Because
should file, their suppliers should file the returns, no?
Because my return for client for whom return we have filed, all the clients are on monthly return, so they will be filing a GSTR 1. So there won't be any problem for me for filing an IFF portion.
Okay. And today is the last date for TCS return.
I don't know. They should extend the date for that also. Without office being open and without a lot of things, I don't know how we are going to file the returns also.
Yeah, I have filed two TCS returns yesterday.
Okay.
It went smoothly. Actually, this was my first TCS returns. So, but it went very smoothly yesterday. So I'm just okay.
So you use your software or directly from your TCS website?
No, I did from one ClearText ka software.
Okay.
Because the government is not now in a mood to extend any date. So far, they have not declared. 1 month is already passed. So they have not declared any date extension for the payment of TDS or filing of any TDS return, etc.
They just extended the date only for the TDS for salary and TDS for rental income, rental property.
Gaurang, I have joined.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll just making the co-host.
Screen sharing is not allowed now. Okay.
Now, ho gaya na, sir.
Okay. You can see the screen. You can see.
Yes, sir.
There is no electricity in my office, so I have just shifted to Jio. Let's hope.
No issues, sir.
I'm sitting in my office, but there is no electricity now. So Wi-Fi connection went. So integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care, and confidentiality and professional behavior are these fundamental principles on which the entire profession has to run. That is what is the intention of the code of ethics. Now, what happens is during any, I was just discussing the definition of audit. It talks about such examination as would enable an auditor to satisfy himself. So ultimately, our satisfaction is important. So if we are satisfied that what I am doing is correct, then my heart tells me that then I think I am observing integrity and objectivity. I will not find out ये law में क्या change हो सकता है, इसमें क्या मैं loophole निकाल सकता हूँ. I will stick to my basic principles, and then I am really doing the work by integrity, objectivity. Competence, yes, definitely we must have a competence of what we are doing. If you don't have a competence, it is not better to take the professional work. I'll give you some cases, interesting cases in this regard. Confidentiality, as they say that chartered accountant is a financial doctor. So we should have a confidentiality, utmost confidentiality of all the matters which we handle about the client. And professional behavior, perhaps it's this fundamental principle covers everything. When we say that we should have a professional behavior, we should have all these aspects imbibed in us. So what Code of Ethics talks is, these fundamental principles we should always observe. Now, if you are observing these fundamental principles, we are behaving ethically. Now, there can be circumstances, there can be issues when we are executing our professional work, that there can be some instances where some threats might be arising while executing the professional work, which will hamper or which will lead to the non-compliance or violation of these fundamental principles. We must identify those threats, and whenever the such threat is there, we should try to employ the safeguards and remove those threats or reduce those threats, and analyze ourselves whether my fundamental principles will be observed or not, will be disturbed or not. If those I'm foreseeing any problem in that, then I should decide whether I should undertake that execution of that professional work or not. So that is the entire crux of the ethics, code of ethics. And that is why the ethics has to be coded, because we must apply the safeguards, because we must check up whether these threats are going to have hampering my fundamental principles or not. So that is the entire, one can see the thread of code of ethics. So these are fundamental principles. What can be the threats in that? Now the threats have been discussed also in the volume 1. There are 5 types of threats have been discussed: self-interest, self-review, advocacy, familiarity, and intimidation threats. Now these threats, I mean, certain things we have been doing, and these are self-explanatory also. But self-interest means whenever I'm executing any professional work, I get or I develop an interest in that work, direct or indirect, myself or through my relatives. Naturally, it is very difficult to especially do the assurance or audit functions when you have a self-interest threat. Self-review threat, that is typically, suppose a new company we have established, and we are starting with the what you can say, laying down the system, accounting system, and subsequently we are appointed as an auditor also. So what we will do is, perhaps we will review whatever we have done so far. So naturally, there is a self-review threat. I have only set up an accounting system, and now I'm going to audit that accounting system. So it's a self-review threat. Definitely will be there whenever I'm conducting an audit for the same accounting system. Next 3 threats are typical threats which the small and medium practitioners always observe, and that is advocacy threat, familiarity threat, and intimidation threat. Advocacy threat means typically I'm doing a tax audit of a firm, but at the same time I'm representing in the tax authorities. So what generally is there in my mind, that what questions will tax authority or income tax officer or the commissioners will ask me, perhaps that plays in my mind in conducting a tax audit. I'm not saying that intentionally. Of course, many people do intentionally. I may not hide certain things, but it may be playing on my mind, and that's an advocacy threat. So what I'm going to advocate, according to that, I may conduct an audit, and that may lead to the violation of the fundamental principles. Familiarity threats, very common. Clients are there with us for a number of years, especially in tax audits, firms, etc. And when the client is there for a number of years, we can handle, generally we discuss the personal problems also, the clients as well as us for personal problem with client. And naturally, conducting a tax audit, let's say tax audit is an audit under Act, so it has to be having all the requisitions of the audit. So conducting tax audit of such client many times, or for that matter, even a statutory audit of private limited company, we may overlook the fundamental principle. And intimidation threats are the threats typically when the client becomes powerful. Client is a very important client or a major client for us. We don't want to lose the client. So at times, client will start dictating on us that, no, you should not give such kind of qualifications. Perhaps we may fall in that kind of a trap, and fundamental principle can be compromised there, perhaps knowingly or unknowingly. So these are the threats. Now, what code says that whenever you find such threat, check up with your safeguards whether you can remove these threats or reduce these threats so that our fundamental principles will be intact. Now, safeguards are kind of a huge theoretical discussions. I'm not going in that. Typically, a documentation, embracing yourself with the changes, taking an expert opinion, having a typical learning of the laws, understanding about the system, understanding about the industry, understanding about the internal systems of the client. So that kind of a documentation, management letters, and so on and so forth. So all these safeguards or quality reviews between the partners or within the firm, So all these safeguards you have to check up and see whether these threats can be checked and whether my fundamental principles will not be threatened because of this threat. So if that is the case, we can go ahead with the work. If that is not the case, then we have to decide whether I am going to go ahead with the work or not. So that is the entire crux, as I said. Having known that, let us understand what are the changes in volume 1. As I said, it's a huge topic. Volume 1 itself is a huge. Now there have been a changes. There are around 7 to 8 major changes in volume 1. Out of those, 3 changes have been deferred by the institute. So I'm not going to take it. Deferred for the purpose because of the COVID scenario, it is very difficult to have experts taken for the guidance purpose, and guidance could not be given, and that's why these 3 changes have been deferred. That is NOCLAR, famously it is called as, then taxation services for the audit clients, and that 15% restriction on fees. So those 3 have been deferred, so I'm not taking that. Remaining 4 changes I will take only, as I said, sensitizing ourselves. Now, according to me, one major change which has happened is codifying the independence standard. Till now, we have been simply studying the independence as one concept. Now, in this code of ethics, volume 1, there is a separate part 4A and part 4B for independence standards. So, independence standards have been specified. Now, what is independence standard? Means in each scenario, I have given you the aspects. In each scenario, each aspect, what is the independence? How the independence can be kept intact? That has been discussed in this independence standard. What are the steps we have to take? As I discussed, as I told, volume 1 is a completely principle-based volume. So, but it gives us guidance on many of the aspects, and this independence aspect, these standards will definitely give us a complete guidance. Now, this is divided in 2 parts. Part A is about independence for audit and review engagements, and part B about independence for assurance engagements other than audit and review engagements. Now, till now, we have been, many of us, in fact, even youngsters feeling that independence is required for statutory audit. Now, if you see the part B talks about independence for assurance engagement other than audit and review engagements. So even for internal audits, even for that kind of an attest functions other than the statutory audits, the independence requirements are there. Maybe, or rather the extent or the kind of the parameters may be a little bit different than the statutory audit. Or one can say it may be a little bit diluted as compared to the statutory audit. Now, as I said, that in each scenario or each aspect, the standards have been given. Now, what are those aspects? As I said, it's not possible to touch. In fact, on independence standard itself, we can have 1.5 hour or 2 hour session. So what are the aspects which are covered? Fees, compensation, gifts, hospitalities, actual threatened litigations. So in these scenarios, how I should test my independence? Suppose there is a case which has been filed by the client against my firm or client against my relative. Now, or client has threatened certain filing of cases against to my relative. Now, how I am going to check my independence in that scenario? That has been nicely described in this independence standard. Even the guidance has been given for non-assurance services to audit clients. How do you have to check the independence in that regard? So that is one of the major change. And for all independence aspects, we can look out for the guidance in this independence standard. Next change is changes in professional appointment. Now, know your client guidelines were there issued by the institute on 1st January 17. Now, those have been included in this section, included in the volume 1. So typically, when we do the tax audit for the files which have been referred by the tax consultants, many of the chartered accountants, we are sitting on the disciplinary bench, we have seen that chartered accountants do not have information about their client. And because that has been referred for a number of years by the tax practitioner for the purpose of tax audit. And this happens more in the official area also. So we must know who is our client. We must know complete detail of the client. And that is not rocket science. A simple questionnaire, it has been given in this guidelines. We must keep that. Second important aspect of changes in professional appointment is, so far, we have been only listening to the communication from the new auditor, incoming auditor to the outgoing auditor. Now, it has been made mandatory, or some kind of a duty has been casted on the outgoing auditor also that whenever an incoming auditor wants to know certain important aspect, and if he knows, then he must, I'm not saying confidential aspect, but certain important aspect which should be taken into consideration at the time of audit, then that must be disclosed by the outgoing auditor to the incoming auditor. So he should comply with the relevant laws governing the request. So he should not disclose the confidential aspects, but provide the information honestly and unambiguously. But for that purpose, the incoming auditor's communication should actually ask him this question. We only ask the question whether you have any professional objection in carrying out this work or not. Going further, one should ask whether you know any, whether you would like to highlight any fact which, in your opinion, necessary for me to, while undertaking the, necessary to, for me to consider while undertaking the audit of this concern. So that kind of question should be asked. Then the outgoing auditor also has to respond. So that is change regarding changes in appointment. The next change is regarding the management responsibilities. It very clearly, code very clearly says that management responsibility should not be assumed for the audit client. Now, I'll give you one simple example of management responsibility. If you're a statutory auditor and you have been called, supposed to have an interview on a panel of an interview for an accountant or an accounts manager. Now, that is assuming a management responsibility. Giving a consultation or recommendation is not a management responsibility, but involving in the management functions is a management responsibility. Now, that should not be done. Consultation, recommendation is okay. Now, even an administrative services to the audit client are also allowed. There is no harm at all. Now, illustration has been given. Kindly excuse me. Illustration has been given regarding the administrative services, which is there on your screen. Now, what are those illustration? Word processing service, preparing administrative or statutory forms for client approval, submitting such forms as instructed by client. Now, friends, next is the monitoring statutory filing date. So these kind of administrative services are allowed for audit client. Important thing, I have underlined certain things. Preparing administrative or statutory forms for client's approval and submitting such form as instructed by client. So we must have a proper documentation for client's approval and client's instructions in this regard. We may be filing returns for our tax audit client, but please take this client approval and client's instructions. Otherwise, we are stepping in the management responsibilities as per this section and violating the entire code. So that is regarding the management responsibility. Next is fees overdue. Now, couple of months back, a lot of discussions were there on WhatsApp, WhatsApp groups, that whether if the client's fees is outstanding for a year or two, whether I should undertake that work or not, whether my code disallows me. No, code doesn't prohibits you from undertaking that work. What code says is that self-interest threat may be created, might be created when the significant portion of fees of the earlier year has not been paid and you are conducting the next year audit and you're issuing the next year audit report. Now, why it is so? Suppose a significant fees is not paid, say last year number of years, then what would amount? Is it not that we are becoming a major creditor for the client? Now, if you are a major creditor for a client, is it not a kind of a financing or funding to the client? And if that is so, funding to the client, then whether my independence will be compromised or not, I must check it whether I am having a self-interest threat or not. So that I must check, and that is why this code says that you please verify whether here there is a self-interest threat when substantial fees is outstanding. If it is so, there are certain safeguards. Take those safeguards, recover certain part of the fee at least, or have an independent reviewer to review your work and let him certify that you are doing the work as per the standards. And if that is the case, no harm. You start with the work, no problem at all. In fact, according to me, this will help the client. This will help us to recover the fees from the client. Citing the example of this section, in fact, we can recover the fees from the client. So this is in fact, welcome change according to me in the code of ethics. Again, I repeat, it is not prohibiting us from accepting the work or doing the audit of where the fees is outstanding. It only says that take a substantial or sufficient safeguards and ensure that your quality is not compromised because of the self-interested, because of the outstanding amount. And you have to substantiate, if you are able to substantiate that your quality is not compromised, nobody is going to do anything to you in this regard. Going further, just excuse me, the electricity has come. I'll just put on an air conditioner because otherwise I'm just sweating. Yeah.
Sir, 1 year's audit fees remained outstanding.
Yeah.
And we signed the next year's accounts, whether it is allowed or not. Only 1 year's fees outstanding.
Sir, it is allowed. It is not said that it is not allowed. Only thing is that let us have a documentation intact with us. If possible, take an independent review, maybe from your partner also, that this thing has been followed. And again, it all depends on the extent of the fees. It all depends that how much fees is outstanding. So according to me, if we take a sufficient safeguards, right, the quality has been observed. The what you can say, the code is not prohibiting you from taking the work. Code only says that see to it that your self-interest rate is not created. So if you have a proper documentation that the self-interest rate is not created, definitely there is no harm at all in doing the work. So for that purpose, you can have they have suggested you take a partial fee or you take a review of your work done. So that's what we have to emphasize on the client, that review has to be conducted. Now see what they say, that what the code says, that when the interest rate is created, when you issue the audit report, till that date also the last year's audit fee is not received, then there's an issue. There can be a problems with the client, and that you have to document it. And as far as your quality is concerned, you have to document that. Then there is no problem at all. Right?
Okay, sir.
So going ahead, volume 2. Volume 2, as I said, it is basically an application material. Now, application material, what does it include? It includes our act, our rules, regulations, schedules to act, accounting, auditing standards, statements, standards, guidance note, guidelines of the council, announcements, self-regulatory measures, ethical standard board, clarifications, and announcements. So many things. It's a dynamic. If, new things will be coming, and you will see certain things have come after the Code of Ethics published also. Now, friends, there are schedules to act, Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take an important aspect, and with that aspect, I'm going to take certain changes which are there in Volume 2. Now, while taking these aspects, I'll be taking the legal provisions. Basically, I'll go through from the, I'll take the provision from the schedules of the Act. Now, what is this schedule? Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 actually describing the misconducts by the chartered accountants, practicing or otherwise. Since this is a forum mainly for practicing chartered accountants, I'll discuss, as far as practicing chartered accountants mainly, because otherwise it is very difficult to complete. Please pardon me if there's somebody is there in industry. I'll definitely discuss individually with them if they want. So schedules describe the what you can say is a misconducts, the situations where the misconducts occur. Now, Schedule 1 misconducts are, so to say, why there are two schedules? Schedule 1 misconducts are internal in nature. Now, chartered accountant to chartered accountant, or within the institute, say one chartered accountant has not taken an NOC or communication with another chartered accountant. So these are lesser in gravity in terms of punishment. The maximum punishment for Schedule 1 misconducts are 3 years suspension of the membership, 3 months suspension of the membership, financial penalty of ₹1 lakh, or reprimand letter, or any combination of these three. Whereas Schedule 2 misconducts are much more grave. It is impacting the outside world also. So the punishments are also a little bit more harsh. Maximum punishments in this Schedule 2 misconducts are lifetime debarment from the membership, or financial penalty of maximum ₹5 lakhs, or reprimand letter, or combination of any of these three. Now, these are the schedules. Now, we are going to discuss, as I said, the changes as well as important aspect. While discussing these things, I have highlighted the changes in a purple font on your screen. Now, let me tell you, friends, changes in code of ethics does not mean, especially volume 2, does not mean that earlier these provisions were not applicable. So changes are of three types. One, completely new change. So a completely new thing has come. Earlier it was not there. Second, some of the changes are what you can say the clarificatory changes. So it does not mean that earlier it was not applicable. It was applicable, but certain issues certainly has been raised by the members. So clarifications have been issued by the institute, and that has been included in volume 2. Whereas third type of changes, as I said, volume 2 is a dynamic volume. So many of the things were pronounced by the institute after the earlier part B was issued as far as code of ethics was concerned. So all those things which have announced and which have been there under different places have been compiled now and put it in the volume 2. So the third type of changes are the compilation changes. So these were applicable earlier also and will be applicable subsequently also. So with this, let us start with each aspect. First aspect is what is chartered accountant in practice, what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do. Now, we feel that chartered accountant in practice में क्या है, COP लिया तो chartered accountant in practice हो गया, COP नहीं लिया तो नहीं है. It's not like that. Basically, our act first defines what is chartered accountant in practice. Section 2, subsection 2 of CA Act. It's a definition, a deeming definition. It says that a member of an institute shall be deemed to be in a practice if he is carrying out following activity. Right? So it's a deeming. Now, if I'm doing these activities, I am deemed to be in practice. So what are those activities? Practice of accountancy, auditing, verification, etc., etc. I'm not reading, as I said, everything. So if you see, except for the last clause, all clauses are about accounting and auditing. So if somebody says that I am a member of an institute, I'm doing only accounting job, I don't want to do audit, etc. So I'm not taking COP. No. If you are doing only accounting job, then also you are deemed to be in practice, you have to take a COP, right? So this is basically relating to accounting and auditing. Then what about taxation? Let us go ahead. The last clause says that such other services as may be prescribed by council. But before that, taxation has been somewhere included by way of regulation 191 also. Regulation 191 talks that chartered accountant in practice can undertake the following things: a regulator, trustee, so and so, so and so. You see the underlined aspect: advisor or representation in financial or taxation matters. So representation is allowed, but where is the returns and etc., whether it is allowed or not? So let us go ahead. Such other services as prescribed by council. The council has prescribed about 28 to 29 services, right? Now, what are those services? Under the management consultancy and other services. Now, what are those services? In the next slide, I've just given an illustrative list. It is not complete list. So here, even in this list also, if you see, they are all relation to the financial planning, budgeting, falana, and all those things. Before going ahead, let me highlight the change which is there. If you see on your screen in a purple font, there are 3-4 changes in this. Valuation of shares and advice regarding amalgamation, mergers, acquisition. This was a clause. In that, it has been added that acting as a registered valuer under Companies Act. Right? With this, let us read the second last one, insolvency professional. So these two, registered valuer and insolvency professional, have now been included in management consultancy and other services. Management consultancy and other services are the such other services as prescribed by council. So if you are a valuer, registered valuer or insolvency professional, you are a member of an institute, you are deemed to be in practice and you must possess the COP. Right? Somebody asked me this question. If I'm an insolvency professional, whether I should have a COP or I can surrender it. In fact, you are deemed to be in practice, so you must have it. Correct? So that is one change. Second, you can see the third last pointer, insurance financial advisory services under IRDA, including insurance brokerage, but excluding insurance agency. Now, as I said, this is a clarificatory change. Insurance agency was never allowed to us, but people were confusing with this insurance financial advisory services, and that is why it has been clarified. So what is our insurance financial advisory services? typically when a client comes to me to have his planning done, so he tells me that even I have to take a good insurance for my assets. So you advise me as per the financial management which insurance and what kind of a product I should take for my assets, or perhaps maybe for life also. So when we advise and take a fee from the client, it's an insurance financial advisory services, right? And one can have under the IRD Act registration and do that services properly. When you refer the client to an insurance company and take a kind of a kickback or a commission from an insurance company, that is an insurance agency. That was never allowed to us. That is not allowed to us still in future also. Correct? So these are the changes. Now the last one, that is administrative services. There was some confusion whether the tax returns etc. कहाँ पे specifically लिखा गया है. So it has now been very clearly administrative services have been added in management consultancy and other services. And we have seen what is administrative services in volume 1. Again, it is there in front of your screen. Word processing services, preparing administrative statutory forms, submitting such forms. All right, and monitoring filing dates. So all our taxation work has now been included. It was there, but it is now specifically included under the administrative services, which have now been included in the management consultancy and other services. So we can do that. There's no problem at all. But if a member is doing only income tax work, whether he should take whether he is a CA in practice or not, yes, he is a chartered accountant in practice, right? Now, once you are in practice, you must have COP under section 6 because no member can practice without COP. Going further, there is one explanation, then one can say exceptions or explanation to this. If a chartered accountant is a member, employed with another chartered accountant or chartered accountant firm, he or she shall be deemed to be in a practice for a limited purpose of training the article clerks, right? That has been given in the explanation to section 2 subsection 2 of the CA Act. Going further, whether chartered accountant in practice can engage in any other business or occupation. Now, in this regard, clause 11 of part 1 of first schedule is relevant. Now, what does it say? Now, clause 11 says that if I'm a practicing chartered accountant, I cannot engage in any other business or occupation other than profession of chartered accountancy unless my counsel so allows me to engage, right? So that is first part. So unless my counsel allows me, I cannot engage in any other business or occupation. Provided there is a proviso. Now this proviso says that I can be a director in company, not being a managing director or full-time director. So independent director or director simpliciter, as we have been talking. Now there were a lot of issues or a lot of discussions that what is a director simpliciter. Now director simpliciter has been now defined. It does not mean that earlier it was not there. As I said, this is a clarificatory change. So what is a director simpliciter? He is a director, ordinary or simple director, not managing or full-time director, and he is not required. He is required only in board meeting, and he is not paid any remuneration other than attending that board meeting. Now, board, when I say board, definitely the board committee is also included in that. So, a director simpliciter means a person who is not involved in any activities of the company and not paid any remuneration other than the sitting fees for the meetings. One case I would like to highlight here, that there were 3-4 directors, rather many directors in a company, and chartered accountant in practice was also an independent director there. Now, it so happened that the bank loan was sanctioned to that company and acceptance letter was to be signed by 2 directors. Unfortunately, on that day, only 1 director was present. Other directors were abroad or they were coming after many days. So this practicing chartered accountant, since the loan was required fast, so this practicing chartered accountant was requested if you can sign the acceptance letter with another director. And he also in good faith signed. Subsequently, there was a dispute amongst the directors, and some directors, in order to take revenge on the other party, right, dragged this chartered accountant director also in between and filed a case against him that you are not a director simpliciter. You have signed the bank documents. Now, bank documents means what? Only acceptance letter was signed. But friends, director simpliciter, if you are a practicing chartered accountant, you can be only a director simpliciter. So your signature should not be there anywhere on the company's documents, right? And you should not take any remuneration other than sitting fees. It's very clear in an exaggerated manner, rather not exaggerated manner. One also says that even a check requisition slip should not be signed by the director simpliciter. One question was asked yesterday only in one session to me by somebody, that there are companies in which there are only 2 directors and one of them is a practicing chartered accountant, whether it is allowed. According to me, it is not allowed. If anybody is doing that, so please take care and change immediately. So that is director simpliciter. Now, many times the question is asked to the institute, there have been many questions. So if you're allowed in a company to be a director simpliciter, then why not in an LLP carrying on a business? Why not a practicing chartered accountant can become a non-designated partner or non-remunerating partner? Because it's again a company, it's again a corporate form, right? Now, institute has very clearly clarified, this is again a clarificatory change, that there is no equivalent to the director in a simplicity in a LLP. So a practicing chartered accountant cannot become any kind of partner in an LLP which is doing a business activity, or in an LLP which is not a chartered accountant firm. Correct? So any kind of partner, non-designated, non-remuneration, sleeping partner, non-working partner, nothing. We cannot become a partner in LLP which is doing a business activity, right? Going further, friends, now let us come back again to the first part. What is council approval? Now, Regulation 190A and Appendix 9 to the regulations clarifies which are the areas where the council has permitted, and council can permit more also in future. So there is a general permission. General permission means we need not go to the council if we are doing this activity. We need not ask for the permission. Now, what are those activities? Employment in CA firm, tutorship, honorary office bearer of trust, etc., etc., etc. So if I'm doing these activities, I need not ask permission. This is generally permitted by regulation. I would like to highlight 2 aspects which are there at the end in this. Acting as a loss surveyor under the Insurance Act. Very interesting, friends. This is an avenue to the practicing chartered accountants. We may not be knowing that we are allowed to do. There's a general permission, right? In fact, very near to you only, and Jogeshwari only, there's one chartered accountant, Mr. Anil Fadke. I don't know whether he's a member of your study circle. He carries on the practice as a loss surveyor, only loss surveyor, right? So chartered accountants can do this practice. You can have his session also if you want on this avenue for a chartered accountant in practice.
Our deputy convener Ashish Chajad also is a loss surveyor.
Okay, good, very good. I mean, I was not knowing that, so very nice. I will refer his name also in future. Great. So loss surveyor is one such area where one can practice, and general permission is there from the council. The last thing in general permission is that owning agricultural land and carrying agricultural activity. Friends, whenever we are studying code of ethics, my request to you all, there are many seniors also, so my request to you all, let us not study it as an act, as we study other act, income tax act or company act. That is that where is a comma, where I can find this, where I can fit this. Please don't do that. This is my personal request. Ethics are something which have to be completely, there should not be reading between the line. There should only be reading the line, right? So let us interpret it in a very conservative manner. Let's not find out the ways and means. So when this owning agricultural land and carrying agricultural activity has been permitted generally, let us try and understand what is an intention, and let's go by that intention. Intention is many of the chartered accountants are from agricultural background, agricultural family. I am also there. So we may have, rather I also have a land which is there from ancestors coming in my name. Now, if I'm doing certain agriculture, I'm not supposed to sell the agricultural land suddenly because I'm practicing chartered accountant. So I'm allowed to do that activity because my land is there. I'm by ancestral this thing. I'm from that family. Or I may be not happy having a land, but I'm purchasing some farmhouse and doing some small activity. That is allowed. But if somebody starts doing this activity in a very professional manner, then perhaps it's an issue. Taking a shelter of this, hiring a labor, hiring a machinery, doing certain distribution network, whether that's an agricultural activity or not, as they call, for income tax purpose, showing a huge agricultural income. Let's not use it as a tax planning exercise. Let's understand the intention behind this principle and let's follow it in that spirit only. Correct? So, as they say, it should be followed in letter and spirit. So that is an agricultural land. In a special permission, council gives special permission. These are the instances where council has given a special permission. So we have to apply to the council for that. Or we have to write to the council. Even professors in the college, lecturers in college, university, etc., where direct teaching hours are not exceeding 25 hours per week, permissions are given. So this is where activities we can do. Other than that, we cannot do any activity. Now, when I talk about the activities, there are so many questions asked whether I can do this activity, share trading activity, whether I can do derivatives. Recently, council has said that derivatives trading is not a business activity, it's an investment activity if it is done on personal account, right? So derivatives decision has come. As far as share trading is concerned, I still feel that it is a business activity. Now I'm still talking about share trading. If I'm buying and selling, does not immediately become trading. But definitely if I'm going on doing intraday activities, perhaps according to me, it's a business activity. I'm interpreting it in a very conservative manner. But doing a short-term capital gain per se is not a business activity. You understand? I mean, it's all depends on the facts and circumstances of each case, right? So any business activity is not allowed in our name also. So whether it is allowed in name of HUF, according to me, no. I can't do the activities in the name of HUF also. As regards this derivatives, I think the council has to clarify in this regard, because it is being mentioned there that on personal account, so not on HUF account. Now, HUF, I can't do these activities. My HUF is formed only for the purpose of investment. I can do only one activity in that, and that is an investment. And I need not explain to chartered accountant, investments is nothing but investing the surplus funds. I cannot borrow and do the investments, right? Investments as a definition, it is investing the surplus funds. So only that activity can be done in HUF by practicing chartered accountant. Now going further, what is part-time in practice? Now people say that part-time in practice, part-time. So if I'm doing any other occupation, then I shall be treated as part-time in practice. But of course, in those regulation 190A, what has been defined, those have been excluded. Those I can do and I can still be in a full-time in practice. Correct? Why I've taken this is people feel that part-time in practice and I can do certain activities. Now, what activities can be done in part-time practitioners? So what our Appendix H Volume 2 says that a member shall be deemed who is deemed to be in part-time in practice is not entitled to perform the attest function and shall not train the article clerk. What is attest function? Attest function means it is underlined, you can see on the screen, audit, review, certification, agreed account procedure, and other is being defined under the framework on statement on auditing practices and guidance note on related services. Now, all attest functions are not allowed. So even certification, people feel that I will not do audit, I will do certification work, and I will be part-time in practice. No, you can't do even a certification work also, right? Just before we proceed further, there is difference between part-time in practice and part-time association with the firm. People get confused in that also, right? If I'm doing any other occupation, then I'm part-time in practice. But if I'm only in practice, but I'm partner in more than one firm, then my association is a part-time association. I'm not in part-time in practice. So part-time association is relevant for the empanelment purpose in CNAG and all those things. So that is one thing I wanted to highlight. And lastly, this one additional thing which has been clarified by the institute this time, that HUF, by default, I may become a member or karta of HUF. By inheritance, succession, partition, etc., which is doing a business activity. HUF is doing already business activity, but by default, I become a member of that because of inheritance, etc. Then what should I do? Now it has been clarified that specific approval is required in that regard. Correct. Say, for example, my HUF father's HUF was father was doing a business, and now he after his death, now that business is transferred to an HUF where I become a karta or I become a member. Now here I must write to the institute. I take a special permission. If I'm a karta, I should not be involved in any of the activities also. No active role, no signature, just like a director simpliciter. And in spite of doing all these things, I cannot do the attest functions. So it's very, I can say, restrictive or very strict rules as far as HUF doing business is concerned. Right? Going further, friends. Next aspect, sharing of fees or profits. Now, whether I can share the fees or profits, that has to be discussed. Now, clause 2 and clause 3 of part 1 of first schedule are relevant in this regard. Now, whether I can share the fees and I can give the share in the fees or profits. Clause 2 and 3 are mirror clauses of each other. That is, clause 2 talks about taking the share and clause 3 talks about giving the share. Now, what does it say? It says that we are not allowed to share the fees or profits with other than chartered account. I mean, except following person. Now, what are those exceptions? Members of the institute, partner, retired partner. We know that we can share the fees with them or profits with them. Legal representative of deceased partner. Fine. If any partner dies, then his wife or children, even if they are not CA, his share can be given to them. Of course, there is again a way of giving it. You cannot have a perpetuity in that. You have to decide by when the entire share will be paid. And there are further exceptions which perhaps we may not be aware completely, right? Such other member of any other professional body or such persons having such qualifications. So with these people also, I can share my fees or profits, or I can take share in their fees and profits. Now, who are those other members of other professional bodies and who are such other qualifications? In the next slide, you will see Regulation 53A and 53B of CA regulations. It describes prescribed professional bodies and prescribed qualifications. So ICSI, that is company secretaries, cost accountants, lawyers who are member of Bar Council, architects who are member of Indian Institute of Architectures, actuaries, or such other professional bodies whose qualifications have been recognized by the council, MBAs. Now, all these people, B Tech, etc. Now, all these qualifications have been recognized, and we can share our fees. We can take share in their fees also. Mind you, I'm not talking about partnership. So typically, suppose an assignment has to be executed, and I require company secretary services also. So any company secretary and myself are doing together this assignment. The client gives only one check, either to me or him. We can share the fees. I can take the share from that fees, or I can give the share in my fees. So it's on assignment to assignment basis. I can do that, and I can share fees with these people. That is allowed to me. But as I said, it should not be deemed partnership. So on assignment basis, it's okay. I'm allowed to do that. Now, friends, wherever statutorily it is prescribed that sharing of fees is prescribed, there we are allowed to do. In Maharashtra, few years before, in cooperative audits, we had to pay 20% of the fee to the cooperative department. Now, if statutorily prescribed, it is allowed. There is one more thing which has been, which is there in the purple font as a clarification or as a commentary. It has been given. Referral fees amongst the member has now been permitted by commentary to clause 3. You also refer in volume 1, para 330.5 for the safeguards, how these referral fees can be taken or given. The safeguards have been given. And you can draw a conclusion from there that what is referral fee? Now, referral means if I'm saying I'm doing a GST work for any client. Now that client comes to me for a bank finance work. No, I'm not doing that work. So what I will do is I'll ask Gaurang whether you are doing. So I'll refer that client to Gaurang for the bank finance work. The work which I am not doing, I don't have a professional competency in that, my fundamental principle. So here, my existing client, additional work has been referred to Gaurang. So that's a referral. So in this case, I can take a referral fees from Gaurang for referring this work to him. That is allowed. But out and out new client, if it comes and I refer it to Gaurang, आप ले लो और उसमें से मुझे पैसा दे दो, then it become a cut practice, and that cut practice is definitely not allowed. It will, according to me, it will be a violation. Correct? Going further, entering into partnership. Now, as we all know, we are not allowed to enter into partnership with other than chartered accountants in practice, but there are also exceptions, and here same regulation 53 and 53B, the council has said that you can enter into partnership with these people. So our regulations, our law allows us to enter into partnership also with other people. Then why multidisciplinary partnerships are not allowed? Multidisciplinary partnerships are allowed by way of this enabling provision, but it cannot be done practically because those institutions have not come up with such enabling provisions. Either they have not come up with such provisions, or the modalities have not been formed. Nobody has sat across the table and modalities have not been formulated. Even if I have to form a firm with, say, company secretary, law allows me, but how I will register, where I will register. Now those modalities are not there so far, and that is why these MDPs at present are not allowed. Very recently, I understand that the council has given the proposal to the ministry regarding MDP where the other regulators are not there. Say, for example, MBA. There is no regulator for MBA. So I think council has given the proposal for that. So let's hope for a good news in that regard, if at all it's a good news for anybody. Correct? So MDP at present is not allowed, but perhaps enabling provision is there in our law. Going further, solicitation, promotions, advertisements. What kind of a allowed, what we are allowed to do, what we are not allowed to do. It's a very vast topic. In fact, again on this also, I can have a couple of hours session. So I'll just touch upon those things and try and take you, sensitize you and take you further in this regard. There are 3 clauses from first schedule part 1 relevant here, clause 5, 6 and 7. Clause 5 talks about securing the professional work by means which are not permitted to us. Now, as a chartered accountant, we are not, supposed to beg for a work, ask for a work, go on asking, writing unscrupulously to all. No, it is not allowed to us. So, making rowing inquiries, youngsters are there. So, a younger member becomes a person becomes chartered accountant and starts practice, and they start writing to all the banks, cooperatives, etc. I have formed a firm. So if you have any work, I would like to get empaneled. No, such rowing inquiries cannot be made. Of course, if you can have a discussion, if you are asked to prepare, submit any application for empanelment, you can always do that. But rowing inquiries are not allowed. We are not supposed to secure the professional work like that. Now, here, there is one thing which has been, as again a commentary or as guidelines it has been given. Now, just now I gave you an example regarding a referral. I have referred some bank finance work to Gaurang. Now, the same client comes to Gaurang with some additional work. Let us take about same thing, say loss survey or any such kind of a work. Now, that is an original work for Gaurang. That's an original work by from a referred client. Now, whenever such original work comes from a referred client, it is a duty of chartered accountant in practice to refer it back to a person who has referred that client to him. So Gaurang has to tell that client, see, you have been referred to me by Mangesh, so please go to Mangesh again. If he is not doing the work, I will do the work. Now that's a council guideline that is there in a council decision in FAQ 45, question number 45 also, as an answer to that 45 question also. Right, it is there in FAQ also. So it's a council decision, and you know that council decision has to be observed. It's a mandatory on all the practicing, all the members of the institute. Right. So this is regarding the professional work. Clause 6, solicitation. Now very vast and very wide in this. A lot of issues are there in this. A lot of cases are there in this. Now, what does it say? There will be a misconduct if I solicit, a practicing chartered accountant solicits clients or professional work either directly or indirectly by circular, advertisement, personal communication, or interview, or by any other means. So solicitation is not allowed. Now, what is directly or indirectly? I'll give you one example of a case. A chartered accountant, a young boy became a chartered accountant and set up a practice. This is regarding a town, small town in north. Now, he set up an office and he invited a local important, say, I think a mayor or MLA or somebody to inaugurate this office. Now, next day in a newspaper, that mayor's or the whatever important person's speech was printed in an advertorial column. In that speech, he has said that young boy from our city has become a town, has become a chartered accountant. He is expert. फलाना लिखना बहुत ये एरिया में expert है. आपको अभी बाहर जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. इनके पास आओ. आप solution ये सब solution. Now all that kind of a stuff was said by that chief guest. Naturally, he will praise him. Now another chartered accountant from same town filed a case against this young boy, saying that you have done indirect advertisement and solicited the work. Now, this boy took a plea that I have not said anything. He has given a speech. How can I control that? But if that would have come in a news column, perhaps that would have been a defense for him. That was in an advertorial column. So that was an indirect advertisement and solicitation by him. And that kind of advertisement is not allowed. There can be another indirect advertisement. Suppose somebody is teaching in a coaching class. If there was a case, you will see that subsequently. A practicing chartered accountant teaching in a coaching class. Now, coaching class has the banner, right? And on that banner, his name, photograph, etc. is printed, and it is mentioned that practicing chartered accountant, expert in taxation. That's an indirect solicitation by way of advertisement. So indirectly also, we are not allowed to advertise. We cannot issue a certificate. Right? We cannot go on giving interview. Say interview is allowed to us, but in solicitation in that interview should not be done. Advertisements are allowed to us. I'll come to that. Allowed to us means what? But solicitation from that advertisement is not allowed. So if I'm called for an interview and I'm asked the question, इनका problem आप solve करेंगे क्या? हम उनको आपके पास भेज देंगे तो चलेगा क्या? And if I say yes, you can come to me, I'll solve your problem. Now that is a solicitation in an interview. So I can give an interview, I can portray my expertise in my interview, but I cannot say that I'm expert in this. बाकी कुछ किसी से भी ज़्यादा मैं आपको अच्छा सर्विस दे सकता हूँ. आप मेरे पास आओ. No, I can't do that. Right? So solicitations are not allowed. Certain instances are given in the next slides. I'll discuss that. But before that, let us discuss about these exceptions which are there on your screen. There are two exceptions to this where it will not be treated as solicitation. And what is that? When I, as a practicing chartered accountant, I request or apply for work to another chartered accountant in practice, it will not be treated as solicitation. So I can write to another chartered accountant. Please remember the word another. It is not chartered accountants at a time. So WhatsApp पे जो message भेजे जाते हैं ना कि मैं we are a firm of so and so. So if you have anybody, please refer it to me. So if that kind of a messages are sent on WhatsApp groups or Telegram messages, etc., that will go to all, and that is not another chartered accountant in practice at a time, right? So please, if I send one message at a time to one person practicing chartered accountant, that is allowed, right? I am allowed to request and apply. Next, second exception is responding to the tenders. Now, whether we can, as a practicing chartered accountant, I can respond to the tenders. Yes, I can respond subject to the guidelines which are issued, tendering guidelines issued by the institute in 2016, 7th April 2016. I was in council that time. One full day it was discussed till late night, till 1 o'clock. This guideline is of 1 page. So people say, अरे क्या किया, एक इतना काम करके council ने क्या किया, एक page का guideline निकाला है. But friends, please understand how the council works. Now that was a case when the Bank of Baroda has issued a tender for concurrent audit, and that tender, the minimum turnover, etc., was put in such a manner that only to the certain kinds of fund this concurrent audit will be issued. there was a lot of hue and cry. We should ban these tenders and all those things. And there was huge discussion in the council. We sat from morning 10 till night 1 o'clock, and the guideline is of 1 page only. Now, what does this guideline say? Because see, we have to understand, when council issues any guidelines, it is having repercussions on entire fraternity. So if we ban entirely tenders on concurrent audit, what will happen? There is no statutory restriction that the concurrent audit has to be undertaken by the chartered accountants only. So what will happen? The concurrent audit will go, ठीक है आपको नहीं करना है, मत करो respond tender को, right? That is why this tendering guideline talks about, for the purpose of this guideline, the work has been divided in 2 types. One, where the chartered accountants services are exclusively or statutorily required. And second is where the chartered accountant services are not statutorily or exclusively required. Typically statutory audits and say internal audits or due diligence or any such kind of work. Or statutory audit or any such certification whereby law CA should certify that certificate. Correct? Now, the guideline says that when the tender is there for statutory, where the chartered accountant services are exclusively or statutorily required, and that tender is specifying the minimum fees, then that tender can be applied. Otherwise, that tender should not be responded to by a chartered accountant. Yes, it's our area, so council can put a restriction there, no problem at all. Because if you put a restriction, if statutory audit of the company tender निकलता है और council ने डाला है कि आपने apply ही नहीं करना है, तो किसी का application ही नहीं जाएगा. Naturally, they cannot do the work through anybody else, right? So such tenders we cannot or we shall not apply. If minimum fees is prescribed in that such tender, yes, we can apply for that tender. Now, there is another say, tenders are there for internal audits. That is the work which is not exclusively reserved for chartered accountants. Yes, such tenders can be applied even if the minimum fees is not prescribed there. Correct? Now, the question comes that if the internal audit tender is there and the tender says that only the chartered accountant should apply, whether I can apply or not. Yes, I can still apply because internal audit is not statutorily exclusively reserved for chartered accountant. It is auditee who is asking the chartered accountant services. So there I can very well apply for the tenders. That's it, responding to the tender. Going further, I mentioned that the press advertisements are allowed, but solicitations are not allowed. That was my sentence. And when I say that, it is there in front of your screen. The factual advertisements are allowed. So change in partnership, change in address, etc., recruitment of staff, yes, that is allowed. But change in address, suppose, additionally, it has also been, if you see in the purple font, newly this is also being allowed. That is advertisement for silver jubilee functions, etc. So, but only important thing is that the factual advertisement allowed. Say, for example, I'm changing an office. So I cannot put an advertisement saying that we are shifting to a bigger office, having a so-and-so workstations, having a conference room. So we will be able to give the services in a better manner. Now, all these things cannot be done in an advertisement. Yes, my office is shifted from place A to place B. That is okay. That is allowed. Even the functions, celebrations, etc. I cannot write that the firm has done a great journey in this last 25 years. We have been serving the fraternity and all those things. This kind of stuff cannot be given. Silver Jubilee function आपको करने हैं ना, करो ना, no problem. तो कहाँ पे function है? Place, time, how to come, say, to that place, right? Who have been invited and what kind of an invitation is there? That kind of a factual advertisements are allowed to us. Correct? So, all other things are self-explanatory, which are there on your screen. Greeting cards, invitations, etc. allowed. Definitely, but only it can be sent to clients, relatives, and friends only. Somebody asked me a question yesterday whether I can send it to my ex-client. Now, whether your ex-client, whether you'll be able to substantiate whether they are relatives or friends, definitely they are not clients, right? So if they are relatives and friends, if you're able to substantiate that, you can send. Otherwise, definitely it is going to become a solicitation when you send it to your ex-client, and that should not be done. Going further, so many additional announcements are there, mostly of a clarificatory nature, which is there on your screen in a purple font. A chartered accountant in practice cannot sponsor any event, except of course we can do institutes events sponsorship, but that is also with the permission of the institute. As far as CSR members, CSR sponsorship, I can have my name printed as CA Mangesh Kindre, but my firm name, CA logo, etc. cannot be there. Advertising for coaching, I have already discussed this case. I cannot do that. As you can see that there was an announcement on 18th May 2017. As I said, after that case only, which I discussed with you regarding coaching class advertisement, which was there in front of our bench. This advertisement, this announcement was made, and now this has been included in volume 2. Signboards, etc. Illumination should not be like traders. Minimum illumination is allowed now, keeping in mind the appropriate visibility. So depending, facts के ऊपर depend है. Generally आप उसको lighting नहीं कर सकते. But if it is in such an area where it is, factually you might be able to substantiate that. TV, movie credits, etc. allowed. पहले भी allowed थे, अभी भी allow हुए हैं. Correct? It has now specifically been mentioned. But नाम जो आते हैं, I mean, any movie के बाद chartered accountant के भी नाम आते हैं, production house के जो chartered accountant. So that name should be in a just like other names. It should not be in a very different manner. Interviews I have already discussed with you. It should not be in a solicitation manner. Books, articles, presentation, personal attainments are prohibited, but I can use my prefix CA or firm name also. But personal attainments in that books I cannot write. Right? About the author, when they say about the author, is a practicing chartered accountant. ठीक है, practice के बारे में इतना ही देना चाहिए. Correct? इसके आगे नहीं देना चाहिए. Personal attainment, practice में उन्होंने फलाना corporate houses को अच्छा service दिया and all those things. No. Right? That बाकी आप individual attainments दे लो, no problem. Correct? But on books, articles, etc., these personal attainments cannot be published. Professional attainments cannot be published. Sorry. Uploading educational videos allowed to us, but in that CA firm, I mean, my name can be mentioned, but CA firm name or partner proprietor, I mean, कौन से firm में, contact details, etc., cannot be mentioned. So in this scenario of pandemic, many people are uploading educational videos. That is why this has been clarified with emphatically in the code. Appearance on TV, film, internet, etc. is allowed, as it is. Internet has been added newly now. Now firm name also can be given, but the exaggerated claim or comparison cannot be given. Now there's a slight difference in first and second. When I upload my educational video, I cannot give my firm name. But if I'm appearing in internet and having, say I'm appearing in internet having session, I can have my firm name printed here. I have not printed, but I'm just telling you. And ultimately, if you upload, that is not my lookout. Correct? So I'm appearing on different forum. There, my firm name, I can do it. Now, on 20th April, there's additional advisory which was issued. This is not there in volume 2, but I've taken this. It is there on the website. What happened was on 20th April 2020, you will recollect that there was a lockdown, complete lockdown. And chartered accountants started, giving in a very good faith, saying that we will give services to Corona warriors. So we will provide a free services to doctors, nurses, policemen, etc. Now, Council Institute came with this advisory saying that, although the intentions were good of the members, but if it would have been allowed, that would have opened the Pandora's box. So advisory has been issued that quantum of fees should not be publicized in any advertisement by way of doing any kind of advertisement. Even giving free service is a quantum of fee. So quantum of fee, बाहर हम जाके मेरी फी इतनी है करके हम किधर बाहर बोल नहीं सकते. आपके फर्म में लगाओ ना, आपको सर्कुलर लगाना है वो. Correct? So quantum of fee cannot be publicized anywhere. Now बहुत सारे फर्म से हमको वेबसाइट से या फोरम से फोन आते हैं. We would like to do a ranking of the firm. So आपकी firm की information दे दो. We are not allowed to do such kind of exercise. So please remember that. Going further, whether chartered accountant can become a member of any network, there has been an announcement on 11th December 2019 saying that a chartered accountant cannot become a member of any network, right, as a medium of referral. बहुत सारे network form हो जाते हैं. I mean, सबसे ज्यादा famous वो चर्चा में इसलिए बताता हूँ नाम BNI, right? We become a chartered accountant, become a member, and there are other people also, right? From engineers, and then doctors, all of them. The understanding is that if at all any work comes in that forum, it will be referred to a person member in that forum only. Now, we are not allowed to become a member of any such network, correct? Network of chartered accountants, which is registered with the institute, we can become a member of that network. Now, whether I can, questions are raised. So whether I can become what I can say, the Chamber of Commerce members and all, yes, that is okay. That is not a network. That is a social forum. You are not becoming a member. Preamble of that membership is not a getting a professional work. You are going there as a social service. Ultimately, you may get a professional work from that. But preamble, uska jo requirement hai, it is not a referring of professional work. Any such network or any such forum which has a preamble of referring the professional work is a network of that sort. It may be called Chamber of Commerce for that purpose, or it may be called any forum for that purpose, but it is a network, and any such network where a medium of referral of professional work is used, as this network is used as a medium of professional work, we cannot become a member of such network. Now, such network can be in a virtual mode also. That is aggregators. We receive phone calls from websites that हमारे पास हम database रख रहे हैं chartered accountant का, आप member बन जाओ, यहाँ पे record आपके detail दे दो, आपको professional काम मिलेगा. No, we are not allowed to be a member of such aggregation also. Logo, I don't want to go ahead with that. Logo, we are now by now that CA and reverse tick with that color code is allowed to us. No other logo is allowed on our cards, which is etc. also. Going further, clause 7, solicitation. Still we are on solicitation. Advertisement of professional or other achievements. As a practicing chartered accountant, I am not allowed to advertise any of my professional or other achievements on my visiting cards, stationery, etc. I cannot use any other designation also or expression also. So my chartered accountant firm card, what I can print, or card or stationery, what I can print is the fact that my firm's name, I'm a partner, address, etc., website address, whatever it may be. Then my degrees, my degree from chartered accountancy degree, my degree from a recognized university, my degree from any institution which is recognized by central government or by a council in India, or even institute, for that matter, institution which is approved by council, with which the council as the institute has the bilateral agreement, and institute diploma, ICAI diploma. No other degree or diploma I can write on my card. Even CA Institute's certificate course I cannot write on my card. So I cannot write Mangesh Kindre, foreign certified forensic auditor. No, it's a certificate course. There are 4 diplomas, if I'm not wrong, 4 to 5. DISA, DIRM, Diploma in Insurance Risk Management, DNBF, Diploma in Management and Business Finance, Diploma in International Taxation, and Diploma in recently launched Commercial Laws. Right? So only 4 or 5 diplomas are there. Other all are certificate courses. So please see to it that we are not printing any certificate courses, etc. on the stationery. We cannot print professional attainments also. Say I have received an award, so I cannot write down on my CA card, I am a president of so and so club, social organization. I cannot write on my chartered accountant's card. I cannot write any other designation. I can write degree. Say if I'm not a company secretary, but see if a practicing chartered accountant is also company secretary. He can write ACS or FCS. He cannot write company secretary. Company secretary or chartered accountant is a designation. ACA, FCA, ACS, FCS are degrees. Degrees are allowed. Designations are not allowed to us. I cannot write the expertise on card. Say GST, head of GST vertical, or ITAT lawyer, or finance expert. No, I cannot write. Only 2 expertises are allowed to be printed on visiting cards or letterheads. Recently, that has been added. That is insolvency professional and registered valuer. Other than that, nothing. So and so firm, so and so name, partner, sufficient. We cannot go beyond that. And of course, degrees and diplomas I can right? Degrees and ICI diplomas, no other diplomas, right? So I can write only those things on my cards and stationery, etc. Now, there is a proviso to this clause also, very interesting proviso. Many of us are not knowing this. It says that, I'll just read out for the understanding. Provided that a member in practice may advertise through write-up, setting out the services by him or his firm and particulars of his firm subject to such guidelines as may be issued. Now, what does the guideline say? Guideline says, if you see on the screen, write-up means the writing of the particulars as per guidelines setting out services. Names of clients are not allowed. Rendered by a member of a firm, and any writing or display of the particulars of the firm, members or firms, issued, circulated, or published by way of print or electronic mode or otherwise, including newspaper, journal, magazines, and so on and so forth. So, friends, I can prepare a write-up of my firm or myself, and I can print in Times of India also. Correct? But that write-up should be strictly as per those write-up guidelines. Now, what is those write-up guidelines? Very quickly, I'll take you through this and then come back again. Now, write-up guidelines have been completely revamped. That's why you on your screen you can see all purple font. So it should be honest, truthful. It should not have exaggerated claims about myself, my firms, etc. No comparison, no references on comparison with anybody else. I should not have anything which is included as bringing disrepute to the profession. No testimonials, no recommendation, no endorsement, no awards, achievements, except for central government, state government, or regulatory bodies award. No position held, so I'm a director in something or something of that sort. Nothing will be there in this thing. Font should be within 14 size and no catchwords, work is worksheet and all those things. So what is this write-up at all? If somebody asks us, now, aapke firm, you are discussing with somebody and you realize that there's a professional work. So he said that I would like to do the work. So he said, okay, theek hai, aapka profile bhej do. Now that profile is a write-up. And this is very important guidelines for that profile. We don't follow that unintentionally. That means बहुत सारे लोग clients के नाम दे देते हैं, right? It is not allowed to us. बहुत सारे लोग, suppose I am a council member, I'll write council member. No, other achievements are not allowed. I am a director somewhere, I'll write director. मेरी firm का एक विजन स्टेटमेंट है, हमने फर्म में भी जगह जगह लिखा हुआ है. ओके, जगह जगह आप फर्म में लिख दो, बट राइटअप में नहीं डाल सकते हो. वर्क इज वर्शिप, राइट? We should always, whatever, I know there are so many things people write. Now these write-ups should not be prepared in this manner. These very strict guidelines are there, and write-up should be prepared in this manner only. Yes, services rendered you can give, but you should not make in such a manner that bringing disrepute to the profession. कोई caricature or cartoon डालते हैं लोग. No, please don't put it. It is bringing disrepute to the profession. While writing the service also, I have seen certain things. That's why I'm saying we deal in a black money. What is that? That is not the way. Yes, what is that? That Black Money Act. That act, advisory in those act. Fine, no problem. But if you are not dealing in black money, or you are not advising how to create black money, that is you are writing, then you are bringing disrepute to the profession, right? So advisories in so and so act, so Benami Property Act and all those things act, advisory as far as those acts are concerned, correct? So it should not bring disrepute to the profession. That is write-up. And if such write-up is prepared, I can put it in Times of India also, as I said, correct? Front page में भी आप डाल सकते हो, पूरी full page advertisement भी डाल सकते हो. बट आपको सोचना है कि ये सारा इतना खर्चा करके इतना राइटअप डाल के आपको काम मिल सकता है क्या? दैट इज द ओनली थिंग, राइट? गोइंग बैक अगेन, व्हाट इज नॉट अलाउड, व्हाट इज अलाउड, वी हैव डिस्कस्ड we have discussed all these things in this slide, that what is allowed, what is not allowed. So I am just going ahead with this. Website. Now there are website guidelines also. I am not going in detail of that. As I said, if I start going in detail of everything, it will take a lot of time. I just want to highlight here, website guidelines are there for a number of years. I just want to highlight something in purple font. It is not in volume 2. Now, very recently on 14th October 2020, the council has come up with certain advisory as far as guidelines is concerned, that certain prohibitions have been mentioned. So please take care of those things. Online third-party platforms, whether it is allowed. Now it is allowed. Typically, these tax websites which are there, they hire the services of chartered accountants for advising. So we can do the advisory work, but other things cannot be done from that website. And our publicity should not be done from that website. My name can be there, but publicity cannot be done from such website. Even a directories, my name, a chartered accountant in practice can have their name printed in directories subject to these guidelines of the directory printing guidelines. That is, my name cannot be, and there should be a proper chartered accountant's space is there. Generally, the chartered accountant name should be printed. No priorities, etc. Properly, logically sequence it should come. All those stuff is there in these guidelines. So all these guidelines regarding solicitations, etc. As I said, a very vast aspect are now there. These are so many guidelines. These are now taken care in this volume 2. You will find it at one place in volume 2 now. Going ahead, appointment as auditors. Gaurang, I can exceed by 15 minutes. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I hope it is interesting. So, acceptance of appointments as an auditor. Now here the clause 9 part 1 first schedule is there, but in addition to that I would like to discuss certain things. Now it talks about acceptance as an auditor of a company. Now when you are appointed as an auditor of a company, it is your duty to see that all the compliances of the Companies Act has been done. Very simple. We all know that our appointment is done, cannot be done otherwise than in AGM. How many of us get ensured that AGM was conducted or not, especially in private limited companies, when it was conducted? Now, how I can find it out? I can find it out by way of the notices issue. Very simple चीज है. आपको एक केस बताता हूँ. हमारे बेंच के सामने हुआ केस है. A very senior member, साउथ में हुआ था केस ये. A very senior member was charged under this clause. What was done was, उसे कोई नॉन चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट उसके पास एक कंपनी की केस लेके आया फॉर ऑडिट पर्पस. 5 साल के ऑडिट करना था, 5 साल का. रिट्रोस्पेक्टिव नहीं, मतलब बैकडेटेड नहीं, प्रोस्पेक्टिव साइन करना था. कंपनी में भी कुछ नहीं था, शेयर कैपिटल और कुछ थोड़ा बहुत रहेगा एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट्स और बैंक बैलेंस था. नाउ there was nothing in the balance sheet. There was first 5 years of the company, there was nothing happening in that company. बट उनको आरओसी कंप्लायंस रेगुलराइज करने थी, इसलिए इनके पास आ गए. इन्होंने भी सिग्नेचर कर दिया, सब रिपोर्ट बना दिया, भेज दिया. Subsequently, there was a dispute amongst the directors, and the directors, some of the directors who were appointed him, were having a dispute with the other directors, other what you can say group of directors. और उनके इन्होंने चीट किया करके उनके ऊपर चार्ज था और कोर्ट में केस चालू था, क्रिमिनल केस. Now, just to show that they have cheated them, they said that they have even appointed a chartered accountant without holding AGM. And as a corollary, they filed a case against this chartered accountant in institute. Now see where we get trapped unnecessarily. Now this very senior chartered accountant having a vast practice and was a respected person locally. As a disciplinary bench, we ourselves give 3 adjournments to him. अरे आप कुछ ना कुछ तो लेके आओ AGM का. But there was nothing. AGM was not at all held. He could not prove anything in that regard. Now many times कुछ नहीं है बैलेंस शीट में, कोई लेके आया, दोस्त ही लेके आया, चलो ठीक है कर दिया, उसमें क्या है? अपॉइंटमेंट लेटर तो है ना. But appointment letter is not a conclusive proof, is it not? Now of course now there have been e-filing and all. You can get ensured about that first and then go ahead. But please take care and ensure that your appointments are proper. Now, this clause is regarding companies, but we have seen on disciplinary bench many such cases regarding trusts and cooperative societies. So, wherever by law the appointment process of auditor is stipulated, it is a duty of an auditor to see that that procedure has been complied or not. Now, we have seen many such cases in trust and cooperative societies where appointments have been challenged by other members. And poor chartered accountants cannot do anything because they have simply gone and relied in friendship. अरे ठीक है यार, ट्रस्ट का काम करना है. एक तो केस ऐसा था जिसमें 1 रुपया फी लिया था, 1 रुपया फी लिया था, ट्रस्ट था, चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट था, उनमें झगड़ा हो गया और इनकी अपॉइंटमेंट इलीगल करके उन्होंने फाइट किया. I'm not saying that I'm not discussing the entire case. बाद में क्या हो गया, guilty हुआ कि नहीं, appeal में क्या हो गया, and all those things. There can be other appellate process, and entire procedure is further. I'm just saying that at least that point of time, sleepless night तो हो जाता है ना. And mind you, in all, as they say, in all trusts, there is always lack of trust, and all cooperative societies, there is always lack of cooperation. Right? And most of the cases are such a trivial cases in front of disciplinary benches. So please, let us see. My suggestion is whether my appointment is proper as per law, as per requirement or not. I am going further. Even a larger partnership firm having say 7, 8, 10 partners, हम अगर tax audit कर रहे हैं, अपनी appointment proper है कि नहीं देख लो, सारे partners का उसको as far as possible approval है कि नहीं देख लेना, right? और whatever उनका जो resolution वगैरह उनका process क्या है देख लेना. Get assured, get proper letters from partners and get satisfied yourself. Going further, communication, change in auditors. Now बहुत सारे cases इसके ऊपर आते हैं disciplinary bench के सामने. The clause 8 part 1 first schedule, and of course there is also a council guideline later on I will discuss. Now it says that chartered accountant in practice shall be deemed to be guilty if he accepts a position or as an auditor previously held by another chartered accountant without first communicating him in writing. 2-3 things are important. Accepts position as auditor. Statutory auditor नहीं कहा है. So it is applicable to all types of audit. Position held by another chartered accountant. Previous year auditor नहीं कहा है. So tax audit के बारे में suppose first year there is an audit, second year there is no audit, third year there is no audit, fourth year there is again an audit. I must communicate with the first year's auditor. I cannot say that अरे last year में तो auditor था ही नहीं, मुझे communicate करने की जरूरत नहीं. No, I must communicate with the person who was previously holding that position. Correct. Next, communication should be before acceptance of audit. Very important. शायद यूडी नेरा में ऐसे केसेस नहीं आएंगे, बट आपको एक क्लासिक केस देता हूं हमारे बेंच के सामने जो हुआ था. प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी का स्टैट्यूटरी टैक्स ऑडिट करना था. जनरली इट इज बीन डन टुगेदर ओनली, वी ऑल नो. नाउ द अर्लियर ऑडिटर ही वाज आल्सो टैक्स कंसल्टेंट, उसको ऑडिट छोड़ना था फॉर व्हाटएवर रीजन, एंड ही वाज रिमेनिंग एज एन टैक्स कंसल्टेंट. So mutually the new auditor was appointed. New auditor wrote to the earlier auditor also, communication किया. New auditor was appointed on 10th September. 30 सितंबर को फाइल करना है, इसने सडनली हाथ ऊपर किया. तो न्यू ऑडिटर ने 10 सितंबर को अपॉइंट करने के बाद लेटर भी लिखा. ओल्ड ऑडिटर सेड ओके नो प्रॉब्लम, गो अहेड, आई डोंट हैव एनी ऑब्जेक्शन एट ऑल. सब हो गए, टैक्स ऑडिट रिटर्न फाइल हो गया. नाउ वी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हैव दिस बैड हैबिट्स ऑफ अकोमोडेटिंग क्लाइंट्स. सो प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी है, उसकी एजीएम टाइम में होनी चाहिए, नोटिस का 21 डेज का टाइम होना चाहिए. तो ठीक है ना, 31 अगस्त बैलेंस शीट के ऊपर डेट डाला तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है, right? So 31st date was put on the balance sheet as 31st August. Subsequently ये जो पहले वाला चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट था, उसका कुछ क्लाइंट से झगड़ा हो गया, उसकी जो टैक्स एडवाइजरी फीस के है उसके बारे में झगड़ा हो गया, और क्लाइंट के ऊपर बदला लेने के लिए इसने चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट की केस फाइल किया. Yes, I have given you NOC etc. You have communicated with me, but your communication was on 10th September. Balance sheet is signed on 31st of August. So you have not communicated with me before acceptance of audit. Now see, everything was okay, right? But when the things go wrong, these minute things becomes very important. So communication should be before acceptance of audit on record. Please remember that. Correct? Let us go ahead. Now, what are the modes of communication? Modes of communications are allowed. There are 4 types of modes communication are allowed. Registered AD, post with acknowledgement, hand delivery with written acknowledgement. ये तो 2 पहले से मालूम है हमको. तीसरा है, नया है अभी. These 2 are new now. Acknowledgement of communication, email communication, right? From retiring auditor via email address registered with the institute or last known email address. So बहुत लोगों में उत्साह है अभी. Email communication allow हो गया institute से. Please read it very carefully. Again, email on registered email ID, official email ID तो ठीक है. But very important is acknowledgement of communication. So if I write communication email to an earlier auditor saying that I have been appointed, whether you have any professional objection, so on and so forth, that is not sufficient. There should be some acknowledgement from his side. Okay, noted, go ahead, we'll answer shortly, something of that sort. Unless it is there, this communication is not complete, right? And the last one is a urine communication. Guidelines have yet to come, so I'm not commenting on that, but perhaps this will solve many of the problems, urine communication. So other than this, no communication modes are allowed. Courier communication is not allowed to us. Please remember, not proper communication. Now, before going further, there's a Council Guideline 2008 and Clause 1, Part 2 of Schedule, second schedule says that I have to abide by all the Council Guideline. If I contravene that, it is a misconduct. Now, Council Guideline 2008 says that a member of an institute in practice shall not accept an appointment as an auditor if an undisputed fee of audit fee of another chartered accountant carrying out statutory audit under Companies Act or any other statute has not been paid. So undisputed audit fee of an earlier auditor doing a statutory audit is not paid. And if I'm appointed in his place, I shall not accept. Forget about communication. There is no question of acceptance at all. Correct? Remember, this is for statutory audit, not for other audits, whereas clause 8 is for all audits. So in case of statutory audit, in addition to clause 8, we have to also see this council guideline. So if undisputed audit fee of an earlier auditor is not paid, there is no question of doing anything else. NOC दिया, पहले वाले auditor ने NOC दिया है, तो मैं ले सकता हूँ? No, my guidelines say that shall not accept. Correct? So undisputed audit fee. What do you mean by undisputed audit fee? Now, undisputed audit fee means balance sheet में दिख रही है, signed by auditor and auditee. Now, client बाद में बोलता है कि नहीं सर मेरा तो बाद में dispute हो गया उसके साथ, देखो ये email लिखा हुआ है. You should not accept that. Just because email has been written, it doesn't become disputed audit fee. So don't go on client's word. So इसमें solution क्या है? और अब तक हमने सब देखा है, communication ही देखा है. NOC जो बोलते हैं कहाँ पे आ गया? NOC यहाँ पे आ गया. Now what happens is at times it is mutually decided by predecessor auditor, current auditor and client. ये predecessor auditor नहीं कर सकता इसलिए current auditor ने करना है. But client has having some crunch, some problems. So it is mutually decided, okay, no problem for me. But at the same time, the incoming auditor should get ensured that outgoing auditor will be fees will be paid. There should be a proper agreement in between कि ये ऐसा हम payment करने वाले हैं. सबसे बेस्ट है पोस्ट डेटेड चेक्स एक्सेप्टेंस करवा के लेना एंड उसके बाद एनओसी ले लेना, सो दैट कैन बी अ ट्राइपार्टिट एनओसी एंड देयर द वर्क कैन बी स्टार्टेड इन दिस केस, राइट? सो दैट इज रिगार्डिंग द एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ वर्क, चेंज इन अ वर्क. गोइंग अहेड, सब्सटैंशियल इंटरेस्ट एंड इंडिपेंडेंस. इंडिपेंडेंस के ऊपर हमने बहुत सारी चीज देखी है इंडिपेंडेंस स्टैंडर्ड में, राइट? बट देयर इज अ क्लॉज 4 ऑफ सेकंड शेड्यूल, a very important schedule, second schedule, which says that if there is a substantial interest, I cannot express opinion on the financial statements. Now, as far as substantial interest in companies are concerned, the regulation, CA regulation appendix 9 is defined what is substantial interest, but this is redundant as far as company is concerned because section 141, 143, I think is Companies Act is there. That now defines, right? This is the old provision. So Companies Act provision will prevail upon that. We'll see later on. But for non-corporate, this provision is important. So what is substantial interest in case of non-corporate, right? If member is entitled or other person referred above, that is relative, one or more relative or any of the partners of the member is entitled either individually or in combined manner, aggregate at any time during the relevant year, not less than 20% share in profit of those concerned. So 20% or more share, if it is given to such person, which are related to chartered accountant or a partner of a chartered accountant, then it's a substantial interest, and one cannot do express an opinion on financial statements. So typically, मेरी brother की partnership firm है, whether I can express an opinion, whether my partner can express an opinion, no, right? So that is independence. Other things about independence we have discussed. Going further, there is also a guidance note on independence of auditor. I'm not going in detail of that, but This has been very nicely explained how we have to take the independence forward. Now, as I said, that as far as companies are concerned, Section 141 is important. It is there in front of your screen. This is not a company law session, so I'm not going in detail of that. But remember always that whenever any act, Companies Act or Income Tax Act specifies any provision regarding the chartered accountants, that will prevail upon the Code of Ethics provision. So Companies Act, disqualification of auditors, conflict of interest provisions are there, but Section 141 3D, that will prevail upon this clause 4 of Schedule 2. Correct. Now, what are the changes? There are certain changes. As I said, that modification in situation conflict of interest in accordance with company law will have to be seen now. Statutory, ये सारी चीजें हमको मालूम है. Statutory auditor cannot be an internal auditor. Internal auditor cannot be a tax auditor or GST auditor. But additionally, one more thing has been introduced in code now. If I'm an independent director in a company, I retire from a directorship, I cannot immediately take up an audit of that company. There has to be 2 years time gap, so 2 years cooling period in that. So that is one new provision. Going further, charging of fees on contingencies or percentage or content. Whether I can, as a practicing chartered accountant, I can charge the fees on percentage basis or on the basis of happening or not happening contingency of any event. No, the provision clearly says, clause 10, part 1, first schedule very clearly says that you cannot do it, it will be a misconduct. Clause 10 very clearly says, please see that. Suppose I take a statutory audit saying that my fees is 1 lakh rupees. अगर आपका turnover बढ़ गया, profit बढ़ गया, तो fee मुझे 10% ज़्यादा दे देगा. Can I say like that? I only said like that. I have taken 1 lakh rupees fees only. I have not taken 10% and etc. उनका बढ़ गया था turnover, but I have not taken that. Still, this clause says that he charges or accepts or offers to accept. Even I'm offering to accept the fee on the basis of percentage, on the basis of contingency, is a misconduct. So I should not offer to accept also. Of course, there are exceptions to this. Regulation 192, as I said, there are certain things available with us also. Regulation 192 clearly gives in what scenarios we can charge the fees on percentage basis, on the basis of contingency. Receiver, liquidator, etc. Cooperative societies, bank audits, वहाँ पे by statute only fees is designed on the basis of percentage of working capital, etc. Management consultancy, fundraising activity, I can charge the fees on percentage basis. Insolvency professionals, non-assurance services to non-audit clients, I can charge the fees on percentage basis or contingencies also. Going further, allowing non-CS to practice or sign in your name. Nobody allows intentionally, but हमको जब मालूम पड़ता है, then what should be the case, right? This clause 1 and 12 are mentioned in this regard. We cannot do that. So definitely, as a person, I cannot do. I mean, I intentionally, I will not do that. But if I come to know such things, I should definitely bring out to the institute, if possible, file an FIR also. एक केस ऐसा हुआ था कि इनकम टैक्स रेड में 2 या 3 बैलेंस शीट मिल गई, साइन बाय चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट. Now that chartered accountant, case was filed against this chartered accountant by income tax authorities. Now the client gave affidavit that हमने ही forging किया हुआ है, इनका कुछ mistake नहीं है, एक बैलेंस शीट सही है उसमें से, एक ही सही है, एक ही उन्होंने साइन किया था. The disciplinary committee did not accept it because client ने कहा मुझे तो मालूम नहीं था, ये जब रेड हो गया तो ये मेरे पास आ गए तो मालूम पड़ा. How can I come to know all these things? और इन्होंने अभी affidavit दिया हुआ है. Disciplinary committee did not accept it because there can be a मिली-जुली दोनों का मिली-भगत हो सकती है. If you came to know at the time of raid in income tax, why you have not informed to the institute? Why you have not filed a case in FIR with police? Right? As I said, आगे जाके क्या हो गया बात अलग है. But on the initial stages, this argument were not taken as valid because if you come to know, my clause says that I cannot do that, right? If I know that such thing has happened and still keep mum, that is against my code. So ethics does not demand that I'll keep mum on that, right? Now, most of things will not, such things will not be there in future after introduction of urine, and therefore urine must be used for everything. and you should not sign anywhere where you cannot issue urine. Of course, you can sign that experience certificate and all, that's a different thing. But professionally, one cannot sign anywhere where urine cannot be issued. And that is why it is said that true copy, income tax return ki true copy karna hai, vagara, vagara. We are not notary. We are not allowed to do that. But yes, I can prepare a certificate for that. I can create a urine for that and prepare a certificate. Right? Separate certificate can be prepared, right, by certifying the income and so on what basis I am doing. Now there is a guidance note for certificates and reports under special circumstances for special purposes. You can take shelter of or use that guidance note and prepare. Turnover certificate dena hai. Kaise denge hum? As per information, no. Please see that guidance note and give the turnover certificate properly and issue a urine also for that. Correct? Of course, if the study circle is interested, we had taken a session on certificates and reports. So we can have good session on 1.5 hour session for that. Now there are various standards, etc. We can go on discussing that. Time is insufficient today. Going further, there are certain other aspects of preparation of certificates and reports. One aspect I am taking, that is certifying the estimated earning. हमारे पास क्लाइंट आ जाता है कि बैंक ने कहा कि प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट सर्टिफाई करो, whether we can certify? No. Clause 3 very clearly, or this is second schedule, mind you, it is much more one can say grave in terms of punishment. Clause 3 of part 1 first second schedule says that as a chartered accountant, it will be a misconduct if I permit my name, right, or name of the firm to be used in connection of estimate of earnings contingent upon certain transactions in a manner which may lead to believe that I am vouching for the accuracy of forecast. So generally हम लोग बहुत सारे लोग लिखते हैं कि as per information explanation given or signed project report. Please remember, it is not allowed. When you sign the project report, you are portraying that you are vouching for the accuracy. आपको कैसे मालूम है कि 3 साल के बाद कैसे हुआ? Who are you to certify that? तो क्या करें? Client आ गया, बैंक बोल रही है, certify तो करना है. Now there is a standards on assurance engagement 3400. There is a standard given by institute in this regard. It is called as examination of prospective financial information. Certificate format से दिए उसमें. Now what this standard says that you cannot certify the project report, but what you can do, you can ask the client on what assumptions you have prepared this project report. You can say that these are the assumptions and on what basis this assumption has been made, whether this basis is reasonable or not. There you can apply your professional knowledge. And second aspect, you can certify whether the calculation is correct on the basis or assumption or not. But this standard further says that at the end, please put a disclaimer that even if as per assumptions, the calculation is correct, but it may not happen like that because there are certain other events which can hamper that thing. So that disclaimer has to be given. For example, assumption है कि 50 पहले 3 साल में factory will work 50, 60 and 70% to its installed capacity. Reasonable assumption है. On what basis they have done industry का study किया है and all those things, we can go through that and we can form our opinion that is a reasonable assumption. But production भी 50, 60, 70% के हिसाब से हो रहा है. But sale may not occur, no, because there are certain other events like Corona has happened, lockdown has happened, there may be flood, there may be other war, whatever it may be. Right? So such a disclaimer has to be given so that you are safe and you are not vouching for the accuracy. Correct? So that is a standard. So as I said in the beginning, हमको खाली लगता है कि इंस्टीट्यूट ने ना करने को बोल रही है. No, institute also telling you how to do things rightly. Right? We only don't know that how many standards have been issued, how many guidances have been issued by the institute, and see how much big work has been done by our institute for us. Going further. Now, there are 3-4 slides. I'll complete in some 10-12 minutes. Very interesting thing. इनके ऊपर भी एक session हो सकता है पूरा. Auditing. What are the auditing aspects? Now, number of cases. Auditing financial statement and reporting on that. Number of cases on this. एक एक केस ही बता देता हूं आपको. Clause 2, Part 1, second schedule says that submitting a report without verification of financial statement. एक केस हुआ था, हमारे बेंच के सामने नहीं था, but I think regarding your area only, this case was there. There was a community trust, and in that community trust, a very respected person of that community was a chief of that trust. उसके अगेंस्ट लोग गए, बहुत कुछ उन्होंने मैनिपुलेट किया करके उन्होंने ये किया और उनको बाहर निकाल दिया. करेक्ट. एंड द ऑडिट वाज कंडक्टेड and some money was shown recoverable from him in a financial statement. Now he was a very reputed person in that community, so he prevailed upon many people and he said that okay, I am out, that is a different thing, but ये बाहर जो recoverable पैसा दिखा है वो गलत है, या आपका चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ने काम बराबर नहीं किया. So you hire some other chartered accountant, get it done it again. So they hired another chartered accountant. That chartered accountant exercised this process. He found out the amount recoverable from this chief trustee as per his examination. Unfortunately for him, in a zeal of giving a service, he recasted entire balance sheet with a revised amount of recoverable amount from him, which was negligible or nil amount, and he signed the balance sheet and gave to the trust. Now, हमारे ही कम्युनिटी में हमारे अगेंस्ट जाने वाले लोग बहुत रहते हैं. So ये ट्रस्टी लोगों ने, they were unhappy with this service, so they filed case against this chartered accountant, saying that we had asked you to prepare only and find out the amount recoverable. आपने तो पूरी बैलेंस शीट साइन की, आपने वेरीफाई किधर किया बाकी की बैलेंस शीट? We are not allowed you to verify, so you are not verified this financial statement and you are reporting on these financial statements. Now, friends, there is a standard available, right, on agreed upon procedures. How to do these agreed upon procedures? We don't know this standard. So ये देना कैसा है रिपोर्ट? दे दिया रिपोर्ट, बैलेंस शीट रिकास्ट करके. हो गया डिफिकल्टी, प्रॉब्लम में आ गए. नेक्स्ट, फेलियर टू डिस्क्लोज मटेरियल फैक्ट्स, फेलियर टू डिस्क्लोज मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट्स. बहुत सारी केसेस है इसमें. आई एम नॉट गोइंग इन डिटेल ऑफ दैट, बट मेनी टाइम्स हमको लगता है कि ये मटेरियल फैक्ट्स, मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट्स है, हमको नहीं लग रहा है कि हमको देना चाहिए, इसलिए हमने नहीं दिया. बट it is not your knowledge, what you feel, what legally required is important. I'll give you one case, classic case. There was a substantial amount outstanding as far as loan is concerned from a private sector bank by a company, right? On the last day, the majority amount came in the bank account. So let us assume that the 3 crore 40 lakhs rupees amount was there. 3 crores came in the bank account on the last day. Now the auditor might have asked the management ने उन्होंने क्या reply दिया मालूम नहीं. Management ने 3 crores rupees other loans करके लिख डाली. It was a private limited company. Auditor also signed on that balance sheet. Subsequently, it was found that these 3 crores were given by the loan was taken over by asset reconstruction company, and these 3 crores were given by asset reconstruction company to the company. Now the claim of that asset reconstruction company, in the court of law, the court asked them, where is your name in the balance sheet? So the asset reconstruction company, they became very wild and they filed case against this chartered accountant. How could you simply say that other loans, हमारा नाम ही नहीं है, हमने take over किया हुआ है. Now that chartered accountant to plead that this amount is written as other loans, तो मैंने कुछ गलत तो किया नहीं है ना, मैंने कुछ इसका capital नहीं दिखाया, ऐसा नहीं किया, other loan करके दिखाया है. So where am I wrong? But friends, you all know that it's a company. So there's a disclosure norms from the company. You are not disclosing the material fact that this loan from which person, right? Whether it is secured, unsecured, if secured, on what asset it is secured. So material facts you are not disclosing. You are not disclosing as a chartered accountant. This chartered accountant took another plea that I have asked for the information, but I have not received it. What can I do? मैंने तो पूछा था उनको, बहुत बार ऐसे हम बोलते हैं ना, मैंने तो पूछा था, मिला नहीं. But if you ask for the information, then again, obtaining sufficient information, you are failed in that. Clause 8. If you ask for the information, you have not received it, you should have qualified it. You are mentioned in your audit report as per the information and explanation received and all those stuff. So you are not qualified it. So he was held guilty of misconduct, friends. So obtaining sufficient information is also our duty. If I'm convinced that I have not got sufficient information, I should qualify or I should give proper disclosures in that regard. Correct? So when you are preparing, auditing the financial statements and reporting on that, please take care of these factors. Very loosely we say that as per our information and explanation given to us, and as per to the best of our knowledge, whether we have really received this information, whether I can prove that this information is received by me, and I can substantiate that on any forum, that we have to verify, and then only should go ahead. Going further, I think last couple of slides only. Going further, confidentiality and clients custody of clients asset. Now, as I said, confidentiality is one fundamental principle. So clause 1, second schedule, part 1 says that if I disclose any information without consent of client, right, unless statutory requirement is like that, then I am guilty. It is against my ethics. I cannot disclose the information. Statutory requirement, fine, I have disclosed. Even in case of police complaint, one chartered accountant asked me that police has asked to give this information to him. Police station said, "Oh, that information." I asked him, just ask him to give a 2-line letter saying that under this section you are required to give the letter, give the information, then give the information. Otherwise, you will be landing in a difficulty. I'll give you one case here. A bank में proposal कर रहा था chartered accountant clients के. Again, very young members should remember this.
Sir, Mangesh, your voice is not clear. It just got a bit.
Voice is not clear?
Yes, sir.
Internet is okay from my side.
There's some disruption in your voice. Ashish, are you able to hear?
No, it's getting interrupted in times.
It just started
A while back.
अच्छा, अभी क्या?
हाँ.
You want me to swap on or you want to conclude the session?
So your voice is cracking.
Give me a minute. 1 minute. Now you may listen to me.
No, sir, it's still disruptive.
Huh?
You can try to log in again.
It's not clear now.
No, sir, it's still not clear.
I have changed the name also again.
You can log in again.
I can do it. I can do that.
Sorry for the disruptions.
You can listen to me now.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What I have done is I have joined from the mobile now. I don't know, something is there in the laptop. I don't know. I'm not able to do it. But ठीक है, दो तीन ही slide है. I'll continue that. Only thing is that you will not be able to see the presentation. That's okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's fine. That's fine, sir.
वैसे दो तीन ही slide बचे हुए हैं ना, तो
हाँ, चलेगा, चलेगा सर.
what I was telling was there was a case of the I don't know, some disturbance seems to be there. Let's conclude now. एक 2-5 मिनट में करता हूँ. So chartered accountant took he was doing a project finance bank funding, and in the zeal of doing the work, the bank manager asked him, where are these go downs of the client, and which stock is kept and where they go downs, and he disclosed there, because he said that okay, no problem, I have to do the work fast. And he disclosed that, but unfortunately what happened was the client did not want to give the details of all the go downs to the bank, and that created an issue. अभी आ रहा है क्या? दोनों जगह आ रहा है क्या?
नहीं सर, एक ही जगह है, बराबर है सर.
I think this is
अभी दोनों जगह.
some internet issues are there.
ठीक है सर, कंटिन्यू. मैं
Yeah. So the client filed a case against him that who had asked you to give these details of go down. So we do at times the things in a very enthusiastic manner, but that creates issue for us, and therefore it should be remembered that proper principles, code of ethics demands us to take a permission from client, permission le lo and do the work, no problem at all. Going further, custody of client's asset. Now this clause 10 of the part 1 of second schedule says that a chartered accountant, since it's not there in front of me, I'll just read it. Chartered accountant in practice shall be guilty if he fails to keep monies of his client other than fees and remuneration or money meant to be expended in a separate banking account and use it in a reasonable time. Now, this clause is very clear. Whenever we receive money from a client for other than fees or remuneration, it should be kept in a separate bank account and it should be kept in a reasonable time for the purpose for which it is received. Now, I'll again cite a simple case to you, which has happened in front of our bench. It's a very eye-opener case. A chartered accountant received a huge amount from his client on 1st September. It was a separate bank account. He kept it in a separate bank account. No harm. It was for advance tax payment. Now, that advance tax was also paid on 14th of September. No harm, no issues. It was done well in time. Everything is correct. Subsequently, there was a dispute between client and chartered accountant. Out of the other charges, one charge which this client made was under this clause. You have not used you have used this money, my money, for your own purpose. You have not used it for a purpose for which I had sent it in a reasonable time. He said that, he pleaded that I have paid the advance tax on 14th of September, so it's well in time. But he pleaded that I had given you money on 1st September. If you would have paid on 1st or 2nd September, was it not an advance tax? So why you kept it in 13 days in your bank account? Now, actually, we asked for the bank statement also. Unfortunately for the chartered accountant, although the balance was there in the account, there was entries of receipts and payments. So on first in, first out, there was a problem for him, and he was held guilty of misconduct because he had not used it within reasonable time. So whenever we receive money from client, please use it in a reasonable time. Don't wait for it. We have a tendency of going till the last date, so don't do that. That is my suggestion. There can be at the end, when we file a tax audit and tax audit report, at the end we ask the client, "आप 1 लाख रुपया deposit कर दो ना बैंक अकाउंट में मेरे, आपका self assessment tax है वो भर दूंगा immediately, so that return can be filed in time." Subsequently, we found that tax is only 64,000, 36,000 बच जाते हैं. हम client को inform करते हैं. Client बोलता है ठीक है ना, आप रख दो, बाद में जब जरूरत पड़ी मैं ले लूंगा, या तो फिर आप करेंगे बाद में उसका कुछ. Please take everything in writing from client. Subsequently कुछ होता नहीं है, झगड़ा हो गया, फिर ये 36,000 के लिए आपका COP स्टेक पे लग जाएगा, right? So please, confidentiality and custody of clients' asset. We should be very, very sensitive about custody of clients' asset when we have it with us. I'm not going in detail. Digital signature के ऊपर तो बहुत सारा discussion हो सकता है. Use of digital signature, what care precautions can be taken. Client का ही नहीं, हमारा digital signature, right? But I'm not going in detail of that for want of time. But so confidentiality and custody of clients is also important. The next aspect is whenever we give information, it should be true information. I have discussed regarding write-up also. बहुत बार टेंडर भरे जाते हैं, एप्लीकेशन हो जाता है, and information about the firm is not given in a correct manner. एक केस ऐसा ही हुआ था, एक टेंडर भरा गया था, टेंडर में इंफॉर्मेशन दी थी और कैजुअली वो अथॉरिटी ने टेंडर इंस्टीट्यूट के पास भेज दिया, चेक करके भेज दो. तो एक फर्म ने भेजा हुआ था टेंडर, बहुत सारे फर्म के डिटेल थे, उसमें हम लिखते हैं ना स्टाफ, तो उसमें लिखते समय लिखा था चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स 2. ना आपके पास अगर 2 चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट एम्प्लॉयड है तो इंस्टीट्यूट के पास रजिस्टर होना चाहिए था, वो इंस्टीट्यूट के पास रजिस्टर्ड ही नहीं है. केस वाज फाइल्ड अगेंस्ट दिस फर्म और मेंबर दैट यू हैव मेड अ रॉन्ग डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ 2 पर्सन्स एम्प्लॉयड विथ यू. असाइनमेंट जो आपके साथ करते हैं वो एम्प्लॉयड नहीं है, उसको हम किसी भी फॉर्मेट में अपने प्रोफाइल में डाल नहीं सकते हैं. तो प्लीज रिमेंबर, ऑल इंफॉर्मेशन शुड बी ऑनेस्ट एंड कंप्लीटली करेक्ट एज पर द रिकॉर्ड्स विद द इंस्टीट्यूट. सो प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट. लास्टली आई एम जस्ट कवरिंग 2 क्लॉजेस. आपके सामने नहीं है, बट मैं प्रेजेंटेशन आपको पीडीएफ फॉर्म में गौरव को भेज दूंगा. यू कैन सर्कुलेट इट. देयर इज अ क्लॉज 7, जनरल. इट इज जनरल diligence or conduct of chartered accountant. So generally in a profession, we should be due diligent. There should be complete diligence. And otherwise in profession also, we should act in such a manner that we are not bringing disrepute to the profession. There is a clause 7, part 1 of second schedule, which says that a chartered accountant will be held guilty of misconduct if he does not exercise, it's very simple clause, if he does not exercise due diligence or is grossly negligent in conduct of his professional duties. यहाँ पे audit नहीं कहा है, professional duties. So any professional duty. Now this clause I always call it as a mother clause of everything. सारी चीजें इसमें cover हो जाएंगी. कुछ भी आपका default है तो इसमें cover हो जाएगा. Because it talks that gross negligence ठीक है, but a failure to exercise due diligence. अभी mistake हो गई मतलब failure to exercise due diligence, is it not? So everything gets covered in this. So we are expected to be diligent always. And clause 2 of part 4 of first schedule क्या बोलता है कि we should not, otherwise in professional work or otherwise also, we should not act in such a manner that we are bringing disrepute to the profession. So our act otherwise also should be such that it is not bringing disrepute to the profession. Example देता हूँ, लोग बोलते हैं कि ट्रैफिक सिग्नल थोड़ा चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ने तो भी वो bringing disrepute to the profession. थोड़ा exaggeration है, but yes, if ट्रैफिक सिग्नल थोड़ा और हवालदार ने पकड़ लिया और हवालदार के साथ हमने झगड़ा किया, right? And next day newspaper में या channel पे आ गई news कि chartered accountant fighting with the this thing for breaking signal, caught for breaking traffic signal, fought with the police. Now this is certainly bringing disrepute to the profession, although it is not related to the profession, right? So chartered accountants are supposed to be always diligent, completely professional in their profession, and outside the profession also should be acting in such a manner that we are not bringing disrepute to the profession. So this is what is ethical behavior, friends. I am concluding here with a remark that आपके सामने वो screen नहीं है, but I always end saying one sentence by Swami Vivekananda that whenever there is a dispute between heart and brain, always listen to your heart. Correct? If you listen to your heart, keep hand your heart and say that what I am doing is correct or not. And if it is from heart, if the thing comes that you are doing correct, you do it. You will be always doing the right thing, because heart is always regarding ethical, always following ethical aspect. It is our brain at times tries to, find out ways and means. So always listen to your heart. And lastly, it's a pandemic time. So all my friends, take care, stay home, stay safe, use all precautions. And in a corona words only, I'm concluding my session by saying that ethics should not be treated as mask. Ethics should be your face. It should not be mask. जब लगा तब लगा, चाहिए तब लगा, नहीं तो बाजू में रख दिया. It should be your face. Ethics should be our face and not mask. And last and very important thing, you might have seen many cases, और बहुत सारे cases ऐसे हैं कि हो जाते, cases क्यों हो जाते हैं, client को बहुत near हो जाते हैं, familiarity threat, और client जैसे client का दुख अपना दुख और अपना सुख client का सुख, ऐसा मान के चलते हैं, right? So please have social distancing from client and do your job professionally, ethically. You will be always acting ethically. I know all of us want to act ethically only. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and thanks for patient listening. Extremely sorry for technological hiccups which have been there. Thanks once again. Thanks Ajit Thakkar specifically. Thank you.
Can we ask one question, sir? One question, one small question.
I am available for any number of questions. No problem at all.
No, only one question, that in a private limited, there are 2 directors are required, minimum. And I think so both of them are executive, means they will be held responsible for even the administrative act. Yes. So if you want to be appointed as a 3rd director, as an independent director, if you are to be appointed as a chartered accountant, then there has to be minimum 2 other directors who are in executive, yes. And then only you can be appointed as an independent director, right?
Yes.
That is very clear understanding, right, sir?
Yes, I have told also that many chartered accountants are there, directors in a private limited company. Yesterday, only one session, somebody asked me this question. So private limited company, हम director बन सकते हैं क्या? नहीं बन सकते हैं. तीसरा, चौथा director बन सकते हो आप. Independent
Yes.
Director simply कर सकते हो आप.
Yes. And we don't need any permission from institute for this?
No, director simply there is no permission.
Okay.
But there is another way. You can be an executive director in a private limited company by which you can have a corporate form of practice. इसमें presentation में नहीं लिया था. इसमें और एक aspect है. That is a
that
corporate
is okay.
form of practice. Institute is allowing that. Only a management consultancy is allowed in that.
Yeah. Got it, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Anything else? Any questions? I'm open to any question.
Yeah.
Sir.
Can I ask?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I'm an auditor of a private limited company. Can I do the tax audit? Can I do the certification? And can I do the company work for the company?
Yes, I think you can do that. For a statutory audit, tax audit is definitely allowed. Certifications also are allowed, provided the certifications are not such on the basis of which the auditor is required to give opinion, because then there will be a self-review threat, right? As far as Companies Act compliance is concerned, compliance work, there can be an issue, but consultation, no problem at all.
No, certification on a factual issues, suppose export turnover or something like that.
Yeah, no problem.
Achha.
In fact, many places certification is required from auditor only. Many cases.
Yeah, many cases they read from the auditor only. Sir, the one clause is added up regarding the 15% fees. You cannot get more than 15% fees from a group of the client or from a single client. Suppose if you have a group, then how to deal with the group fees and company fees?
Sir, clause wo differ hua hai.
Yeah.
But right now also in that guidance note on independence of auditors, as a recommendatory measure, it is there as a 40%. Correct. Now, what that clause says that if I am a statutory auditor of a company, then my fees other than total fees from that group may be for a statutory audit or other services. Now, group means it's a हमको लगता है group, but ये group company है कि नहीं हमने देखना है, right? Cousin की company है, हमको we call it loosely group company, right? But it cannot be group company. So see whether it is properly group company or not.
Yeah.
So from that entire group, if my fees is more than 15% of my total fees, right, then I should report to those charged with governance. The clause is like that. Clause is not prohibiting. Correct. Now, how this reporting has to be done, etc., that guidance is required, and that guidance institute is preparing, and that's why it is being deferred right now.
Okay. So
it is not prohibition. It has to be reported to those charged with governance.
Report where?
Now, those charged with governance typically means the management of the company, board of the company.
Okay.
Right? And in certain cases, there will be regulators also in a certain cases. So that's what that guidance is going to come right now from the institute. So let's wait for that. That provision is there in the volume 1, and that has been deferred as of now.
And regarding the relatives, suppose I'm an auditor of a private limited company, and my son or my brother is one of the employee in other group companies. Am I
don't think that will hamper your independence first. See, sir, in many cases, we have to take a call, we have to satisfy ourselves. So,
yeah, from our perspective, we say we are completely independent and that is not influencing, and that is there.
Correct. So, in a Companies Act, if you see section 141(3), right, there is no prohibition for employment. So, business relationship, it is mentioned. Can I go? It is not there in front of your screen. Otherwise, I would have shown you. It is there in the Companies Act. See, business relationship, section 141(3)(e), a person or firm who directly or indirectly has a business relationship with the company or its subsidiary or its holding company or associate company or subsidiary of such holding company or associate company is a disqualification. Now, what is business relationship is also explained. I think one of employee, if it's a large employee base, now it all depends. As I said, facts and circumstances. TCS or ऐसे मतलब बड़ी company है उसमें एक आध employee रहेगा. So whether that can be one of the such things. So that one has to see. But if it's a say 10-15 employees company and your son or your relative is on a higher post, definitely it's a kind of a business relationship. So directly or indirectly, such business relationship should not be there. So you read the company law provision, section 141(3)(e).
Okay. So it prohibits, the Companies Act then prohibits it, no?
Yes. It all depends on the facts. You can go through that, but by and large, it will be hampering the independence.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So we have a
Again,
question.
Repeat, it depends on the facts of the case.
So we have a question in chat box.
Yeah. Can you read that, please? I'm on
Yes.
mobile.
Yes, sir, I will. Whether subscribing Just Dial or Sulekha, who sends leads of work, is allowed. They have
No.
different yearly packages.
No, it is not allowed. I have said it is not allowed. Just Dial, if it's a directory, and directory is open to all chartered accountants and open to there is no what you can say differentiation between the chartered accountants, then it is allowed. And there also, what can be printed is given in the directory guidelines. That is only name, address, telephone numbers, or website, whatever you want to give. Right? Just Dial wants to keep your personal professional profile on their whatever website, or that is not allowed. Registering with the websites, as I said, aggregators is not allowed to us.
But simply putting our details in the Just Dial is allowed.
Yeah, and what they do is they try to keep it in terms of expertise. Yes. Taxation experts. No, that is not allowed to us.
Okay.
Right? Let them have a proper directory printed. उसमें क्या है? सबका नाम आ जाएगा. कौन क्या कर रहा है मालूम नहीं पड़ेगा. That is allowed.
No, Mangesh bhai.
Yeah.
Sir, Just Dial have separate packages. If I pay something yearly package, they give me a lead. Suppose you and myself are member, you are staying at Andheri. I am paying higher amount to the Just Dial. So they will first give lead. They will give lead to Ajit Thakkar first. If Ajit Thakkar does want, then it will be given to Mangesh bhai.
That is nothing but network where the preamble is a solicitation or preamble is a referral of professional work, and that is not allowed.
Okay.
So we have a next question. Is studying a full-time course like MBA, LLB allowed for practicing CAs? Should my associate who are in CAs in practice obtain any permission from associate to pursue the same?
Interesting question. Any business or occupation has been mentioned. Correct? Study or studentship is not mentioned in anywhere in this thing. Clarification has to be obtained according to me. Permission has to be taken according to me from the council in this regard. Because number of hours will be relevant in that case. No, what happens? See, the intention of this is what? That you should devote time on practice. And you should do the practice only. So that, see, this is one of the way of checking the signature practice. Stamp thappa practice jisko bolte hai na, wo nahi kare log. But of course, this is one of the way of checking it. I know that there can be there are still a lot of things happening. So people should devote time to the practice. Then they will be doing an ethical practice. That is an intention, basically. If I allow everything with the practice, then practice mein kya dhyan rahega? And then whether one will be able to do the justice to the practice, that's an apprehension or that's an intention behind this clause. So anybody wants to do any studies or management course, etc., better to ask to the institute. Institute will permit, because institute itself is having many such courses with IIMs and etc. So permission has to be taken in that regard. Better to have a permission on record.
So can you briefly highlight about the utilization of DSC of ourselves and of the client? Very briefly.
बहुत बड़ा टॉपिक है, बट जो केसेस हमने देखे हुए हैं, राइट? यूटिलाइजेशन क्लाइंट डीएससी हम लोग जब करते हैं तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कम्युनिकेशन होना चाहिए उसमें. वी शुड नॉट बी, अभी मैं क्लोज वॉल्स में बोल रहा हूँ, ऐसा समझ रहा हूँ कि वी शुड नॉट बी हैविंग डीएससीज ऑफ क्लाइंट इन आवर ऑफिस ऑन रिकॉर्ड. रिकॉर्ड पे ये डीएससी हमारे पास से उसके पास जानी चाहिए, उसके पास से हमारे पास आनी चाहिए. उसका proof हमारे पास होना चाहिए. So whenever return is ready, he should mention that I am sending a DSC to you. Attach this return and upload it. That is approval from the client to upload the return. Right? I am just saying, I hope I am very clear in my words. There should be a record with us which indicate very clearly that DSC has been received by me from the client and he has allowed me to use it for the return which is approved by him for uploading that return. I'm just giving you an example of return, any such document for that matter. And this digital signature should be returned to him after used by us. On record, we must have a proof that I have returned to him. बाकी आप क्या कर रहे हो वो आप कर सकते हो. I am not dealing in that. But documentary proof, please keep on record. Because बहुत बार misutilization of DSC के लिए chartered accountants के ऊपर cases हुए हैं. Misutilization of cases of DSC. Even CS DSC, please don't share with anybody outside your office. In your office also, please have a proper control where it is being utilized. Otherwise, it's again going to create an havoc. बहुत सारे cases है. Time permits या अभी का आगे आप session कभी लोगे case studies के ऊपर तो बहुत सारे case studies ले सकते हैं हम.
So if client authorize us to keep the DSC, like keep it with yourself only in your office.
My personal suggestion, advice तो नहीं कहूँगा. Better to keep a record that I have delivered it to him and record that I have received from him. मैं कह रहा हूँ record. Record का मतलब आप जानते हैं.
Any members, if they have any queries, they can unmute themselves. We'll keep a forum open for 2 minutes and then we'll conclude.
आपको presentation में PDF form में भेज दूंगा.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm Kishore.
Yes, sir.
See, there is one embezzlement or misappropriation of fund by the employee of a private limited company. That was charged by the management, and then the police case was filed.
A call from Global BAN.
Police case was filed.
Sorry?
There was one employee with the private limited company, and due to some reasons not having the good relations after so many years of the service with the company, management, when the employee left the company, management got the certification from some other chartered accountant that on the date of leaving the employment, the cash on hand was X amount, and then lodged the complaint with the police that he has not submitted the cash filed or deposited the cash in the bank. Considering the nature of business, there was cash receipt, and he left the job without giving the proper cash, handing over the proper cash to the management. And then there was a police complaint, and then when I am the statutory auditor of that company, and then I had to finalize. But after giving the final account, police station has called me also because the client submitted the signed balance sheet that instead of X amount, cash on hand on the date of leaving the company was X plus say some few amount. There was an increase in the cash on hand. And the police called me for the verification or submitting the details. So what should be my reply? I have to attend and give.
The balance sheet which you have certified, the cash balance was say X. And the company is saying that the cash balance is X plus.
Company took the independent certificate from other chartered accountant before filing the case against the employee. So first case was filed on the basis of some other chartered accountant certificate of cash on hand.
So the point is that as per books of account, whether this cash was same.
No. During the audit on the date of say 31st December, that employee left the company. At that time, the statutory auditor was not discussed the point or I am the auditor. The company took the certificate of cash on hand as on 31st December from Mr. Mangesh. You are certifying that the cash as per the whatever using the certification language, that on the basis of what blah blah blah, the cash on hand is on the date of 31st December is X rupees. And after March is over, while doing the regular audit, the 31st December cash on hand was rupees, say X plus something. That I have to certify because I am signing the balance sheet as on 31st March. But I had to mention that in the audit report that after the balance sheet date so and so happening has developed. So I had reported everything on the signing of that balance sheet after client submitted it to the police station that see, not X. As per the signed balance sheet, the X plus something is also missing. So my complaint should be raised to not X amount. It should be misappropriation of X plus some amount. And then police called me that you have to attend and submit whatever details you have. What are the
So, sir, actually, as per the books of accounts, you are certified, right? And you might have used your procedures for verification of cash balance as on 31st March 21. Can we discuss this? I'm not able to understand this properly. Can we discuss this in detail? Hello? Can we discuss on phone in detail?
Sir, we can you can take this matter with Mangesh sir after the session.
Can you just give me my number and ask him to call me, or I'll call him? Huh?
Yes. We'll conclude the session. I will request Ashish to kindly give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Gaurang. Thank you, Mangesh sir, for sharing your valuable time today and guiding all of us on the ethics part while undertaking professional practice. It was a great refresher course during this short period of 2 hours. We did look in some slides the ethics procedures involved on during practice with respect to appointment, resignation, and the general procedures that we need to follow during work. And all of these are actually legal in nature. And in today's world, it is very essential that these practices and procedures are followed appropriately so that we safeguard ourselves in continuing our work. And legal cases, as we all know, are increasing. So just like you shared some of the examples before the disciplinary committee which came to you. And also the real life issues and examples that you shared and highlighted the bad consequences of the incorrect practices which we sometimes follow in routine course, but which needs to be updated and followed with caution looking at current scenario. The session was also interesting because there were not only issues or problems, but you also gave solutions and methods which we can follow and which can prove to be very helpful to the members while practicing. Lastly, I would also like to thank our study circle member, CA Ajit Thakkarji, for helping us arrange today's speaker. Thank you, Ajit sir. And on behalf of the Andheri West Study Circle, I once again thank Mangesh sir for sharing your knowledge on this topic. Thank you, participants. Please take care while moving out. Stay safe, and everybody have a nice day.
Thank you, everybody. Anytime you want additional tips, I'm available. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
गौरव कभी भी बोलना आगे कुछ करना है
definitely sir.